fighting battles that often go unseen. Some struggle to focus, some struggle to fit in, and some spend their entire lives pretending to be normal. This is the reality. Parents, members of the mental health community, ladies and gentlemen, this morning we're truly honored to have you join us for the second edition of the Mental Health Forum. This is the Mental Health Forum 2026. We know how, admittedly, we like to be selfish with our weekends, and so we appreciate your presence here this morning. Now, the purpose for our gathering this morning, we are trying to attend to a growing reality that needs to be attended to. Available data suggests that 1 in every 8 group of people has a mental health condition. It is a development that cannot be overlooked, and so this morning we're going to try and find solutions as to how to deal with people diagnosed with mental health conditions so that we do not treat them as outcasts of the society. And I'll just take this moment to acknowledge sponsors for this event. The Mental Health Forum 2026 is sponsored by Illy, Pinocchio, KGL Foundation, Lay Pavilion, and Gourmet Gardens. It is also partnered by the Premier Mind and Wellness Clinic. Premier Mind and Wellness Clinic is actually behind the entire organization. And so if you are a patient of mental health conditions or you know somebody, please, all you can do is to log on to the premiermindandwellness.com. And this is the leading mental health clinic offering expert therapy and physiatric care for depression, anxiety, ADHD, autism, addiction, trauma, and more, both in person and at our ACCRA clinic and online across Ghana. So you can just log on to the website at Premier Health and, let me just be right, Premier Mind and Wellness Clinic, and you can get attended to and be given the very best of mental health related services. It is also partnered by the Premier Aesthetic Clinic, the Ministry of Health, Diaspora Affairs, Office of the President, Bell Laqua, Chocolate Sarai, Ghana Physiological Council, multimedia group that includes Joy News and Joy FM. So thank you very much once again for being here this morning. We're truly honored to have you. I would just like to introduce our first speaker for the day. And as I said earlier, available data suggests that 1 out of 8 persons suffers from mental health conditions. And so the one thing that affects us here in Ghana is the fact that we like to shy away from discussions, surrounding mental health. And so this morning, we are very fortunate to have the founder and the leader of the Mental Health Forum because she has been open to discuss issues about mental health and she presents her lived experiences. She was diagnosed later in life with ADHD, and this is the attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And she has, of course, transformed lived experiences into advocacy and has used her platform to educate families, challenge stigma, and create support systems for individuals who are navigating neurodiversity and mental health challenges. And of course, through her rehabilitation center I just told you about, and Mental Health Forum, this very event, she continues to create spaces for very difficult but necessary conversations and inclusion, awareness, and supports for people diagnosed with various types of the mental health conditions. And so, ladies and gentlemen, this morning, join me in welcoming the founder and creator of the Mental Health Forum, Jahara Osman.
Hello, good morning. I want to say thank you and welcome once again to the Mental Health Forum 2026. Last year, we had our first Forum 2025, and I'm excited that this is continuing and we're channeling our energy into topics as this year's topic is autism and ADHD. I would like to welcome everybody, representative of the Minister of Health, Dr. Hafiz, Ghana Library Authority, distinguished speakers, parents, students, educators, policymakers. I am excited that you are able to join us this morning, and I hope this conversation is going to be impactful as we leave here. For those who are not able to be here, I hope this conversation goes beyond this room. My name is Jahara Osman, and I am the founder of the Mental Health Forum. I was diagnosed with late ADHD about 5 years ago, and I took it upon myself to share my story, to allow people that have experienced what I have experienced to know that you are not alone. The journey of being autistic or being ADHD is a never-ending journey. And once you know who you are, and the society know who you are, I think living becomes a lot more easier. Today, we are gathered here not only for a conversation, but a movement towards mental health. The most important movement is understanding, which is very key, and this is the that is the whole passion that I have about this mental health forum. Awareness, not just as people diagnosed with autism and ADHD, but awareness for parents, for teachers, for society. For children diagnosed with autism, it is one thing, but for parents who at a very young age found out they have children with autism, it's a journey that nobody tells you. It's a journey that has no beginning and there's no future. You don't know where to look, and you don't know who to ask, and there's no playbook as to how to raise a child with autism. So together when we gather to learn from each other. As educators, I am well aware there are special needs teachers, but special needs is not just for special needs teachers, but special needs training is for everyone, parents and all educators, because once we all know how to take care or to manage children with autism, we create a better environment for them. Mental health is not luxury. Neurodiversity is not a weakness. I actually consider it a superpower. Once you know how to use that superpower, you can channel it into something beyond this world because your brain works different. At the Mental Health Forum today, our mission is to create a space where people feel seen, heard, educated. We want to bridge the gap between mental health professions, educators, policymakers, caregivers, and the public. Because real change starts with conversations. Beyond social media, beyond actions within our homes, schools, and healthcare system and communities. For the past few months, my team and I have worked diligently. We've visited autistic care centers, interviewed parents, spoken to policymakers about how to bridge the gap. Today, every parent here should know that you are not alone. Every child here with autism or ADHD, your mind is not broken. Your difference is valid, and you deserve a world that understands. I also want to take a minute to thank our partners, sponsors, volunteers, and healthcare workers that are able to join us today. We want to say a very big thank you to the Ministry of Health, Ghana Library Authority, Belacqua, KGL Foundation, Pinocchio, Chocolate Sarai, Ili, Premier Aesthetic Clinic, which is my business, Premier Mind and Wellness, and if I've forgotten anybody, I'll take a look at it again, for all your support, and we hope that we continue this journey with your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, let's do it better for her. It takes courage to open up about a mental health diagnosis, considering how we shy away from it in this country. Jahara, thank you very much. Please, another round of applause for her again. I mean, clearly, we are all trying to be advocates, not just attendees for this program. We are all trying to be advocates for mental health, and it cannot be done on an individual basis. That's the reason we always need that strong collaboration. So on the back of that, I will introduce our guest speaker this morning. And our guest speaker is he represents, or he's one of the key institutions, he represents one of the key institutions at the center of Ghana's healthcare system. He currently serves as a Director of Technical Coordination at the Ministry of Health and continues to contribute to conversations around healthcare delivery and public health systems. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Dr. Hafiz Adam Tahir. He's with the Ministry of Health. And we know that, as I mentioned earlier, we like to be very selfish with our weekends. And so if you're not able to join us this morning, it's fine. You can always join us digitally, and you can do that on YouTube. I'll just get you the link. It is live on YouTube at the Mental Health Forum GH. You can log on and join us digitally. Dr. Hafiz, the stage is yours, please.
Thank you very much, Madam MC. We're supposed to have the rector of this college, Madam Jahara Osman, a hard-working individual since I got to know her, particularly in the thematic area we are dealing today. She's a founder of this initiative. The representative of Mental Health Authority, distinguished guests, all invited stakeholders, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Oh, why? We didn't take breakfast this morning? Good morning. Wonderful. So for me, today's activity comes as a second privilege that I had when it was launched. I think I had the opportunity again to represent the Minister of Health during the launch, and today is the main activity. And so I consider it a privilege to have been invited as a special guest of honor for this important forum on mental health, and indeed to represent the Minister of Health at the Mental Health Forum 2026 organized by Premier Care. I would like to first and foremost commend the organizers for this, their ability to pull this together, the initiative, and for creating a platform to promote conversation around mental health, particularly on this year's theme, Attention Deficit Hyperactive Disorder, in short, ADHD and Autism Spectrum Disorder. Distinguished participants, mental health remains a critical importance of overall health and well-being. Yet conditions such as ADHD and autism spectrum disorder continue to be misunderstood. It's also undiagnosed. particularly because of capacity. We are also aware that it suffers stigma in many of our communities. This is why this forum is so extremely important, because it creates awareness, encourage understanding, and promote inclusion and support for individuals and families affected. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as a ministry, we recognize a growing need for mental health education, early intervention, accessible support system, and we also acknowledge the efforts of healthcare professionals, educators and caregivers, advocates, and organizations that continue to work tirelessly to improve mental health outcomes in Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, indeed, the Ministry of Health, together with the Mental Health Authority and partners, has undertaken a number of initiatives to strengthen mental health delivery in Ghana. These include, but not limited, to the implementation of Mental Health Act 2012 Act 846, which provides a legal framework for the protection of the rights of persons living with mental health conditions and the promotion of quality mental health care services in Ghana. The ministry has also continued to expand community-based mental health services by integrating mental health care into primary health care delivery across the country to improve access to early diagnosis, counseling treatment, and psychological support. And indeed, when about 3 weeks ago, when we launched the primary health care at Dodoa, mental health was central as part of the services that will be enhanced at the primary level. And so, distinguished participants, the ministry has also continued to expand community-based mental health services, as I said, by integrating it into the primary health care delivery system. In addition, government continues to invest in mental health infrastructure and human resource capacity to improve service delivery nationwide. Furthermore, through collaboration with the World Health Organization and other development partners, Ghana has participated in initiatives aimed at improving mental health awareness, reducing stigma, promoting human rights, and enhancing the quality of care for persons living with mental health conditions. As stakeholders, we must continue to work collaboratively and build a society where mental health is treated with the same seriousness and compassion as physical health. We must encourage open conversations, reduce stigma, and ensure that individuals living with neurological development conditions receive the care, support, and opportunities they deserve. To individuals living with ADHD and autism, as a ministry, we affirm our abilities and functioning in society and will continue to institute measures to ensure that your well-being and development are central. I am particularly encouraged by the presence of our partners and stakeholders here today, whose continuous support is critical to the success of our collective efforts. Most importantly, it is the participation of the media in this event that is very important, because you are to sell us out to the public. So your contribution towards awareness and advocacy is deeply appreciated, and we encourage you to do more. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, I encourage everyone here to also take the knowledge shared today beyond the forum into your homes, schools, workplaces, healthcare systems, and communities. Awareness creation and understanding of mental health issues is the first step in reducing stigma towards people living with mental health conditions. And so, on behalf of the Ministry of Health, and on my own behalf as a guest of honor, I once again commend Premier Care for organizing this impactful and important forum and for contributing meaningfully to mental health awareness in Ghana. I thank you for your attention and wish you all a successful and insightful forum, and pray that may good Lord protect us and bless our homeland, Ghana. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. No, you cannot go yet. Please wait for a second. Dr. Hafiz, I want you to stand by me for a second. We know that recently Ghana launched the free primary health care. In fact, it was spearheaded by your ministry. Does it cover mental health?
I'm sure maybe you were reading your messages on WhatsApp. That's why you didn't hear me. In fact, I emphasize on that mental health is and was central when we launched the primary health care. A reason why we'll be building capacity, because when it comes to the primary health care level, we are looking at the scope of certain conditions that can be easily handled by nurses and community health nurses and others. But we've raised a bar, and we are subjecting them to building their capacity, first of all, to be able to detect early, and then secondly, early detection, and so the management of it. And so there's no doubt about the fact that the free primary health care, in fact, that's even the most important thing, not just primary health care, but the fact is that it's free at that level. And you know we have 3 levels where you have free primary health care at the lower level, where you go for ailments and other things. And then you have the second phase of it, where you go to the health centers and then the district hospitals, where you now be required to use your NHIA card. And then the third level, where His Excellency President Mahama came out with a beautiful idea that, look, apart from the free primary health care, the NHIA, there's a level of certain conditions that you may get to that your NHIA would not be useful to you because you would have ended the scope of the services that the NHIA covers. And so what happens? For instance, if you have chronic renal failure and your NHIA says that you are only to receive this set of treatment, beyond that, what do you do? If you don't have money, what do you do? So that financial obstacle is what the Mahama Cares, the Ghana Medical Trust Fund, now comes in to say that, yes, you've gotten to the limit of your NHIS services or coverage. You don't have money. So now the Mahama Cares now takes over. Okay. And then that's the third level of it. So that is what we are doing now.
Thank you. You understand why he's the guest speaker for today. Thank you very much, Dr. Hafiz. You can take your seat now. And we know that mental health cannot thrive in the absence of education. That's the reason this morning we're very pleased to have with us the Ghana Library Authority. And so the next person to take the stage is Victoria Duncan Emisa. She is the head of National Children and Mobile Library at the Ghana Library Authority. Can we have you on stage now, please? A round of applause for her.
Good morning. Standing on all existing protocols, I bring you warm greetings from my Executive Director, Mr. Alhassan Ziblim Bentitichi, and I'm honored to deliver this address on his behalf. It is a privilege to join you today at the Mental Health Forum 2026, held under the important theme, Autism and ADHD. I must commend organizers, particularly the team behind this initiative, for creating a platform that encourages honest conversations, awareness, education, and advocacy around mental health in Ghana. Today's theme is particularly important because it reminds us that mental health conversations must become more inclusive, compassionate, and practical. At the Ghana Library Authority, we believe that libraries are not merely spaces where books are stored. Libraries are safe spaces for learning, for healing, for reflection, and human connection. As head of a public institution that serves people daily, we encounter patrons with various backgrounds and with different lived experiences, including neurodivergent children and young people on the autism spectrum, who visit our libraries with their shadow teachers, with their parents, with their caregivers, for lessons and learning activities. Through these interactions, I can confidently attest to the fact that books, quiet spaces, and access to knowledge can become medicine for the mind. These daily experiences have taught us that library spaces must remain judgment-free zones where every individual, regardless of their condition or challenge, feels seen, they feel welcome, they feel respected and included. Ladies and gentlemen, research continues to highlight the powerful connection between reading and mental wellness. Studies show that reading for just 6 minutes can reduce stress levels by up to 86%, by lowering cortisol levels, slowing the heart rate, and easing tension in the body. This reminds us that reading is not only educational, it's restorative. For many of us who work within the library spaces, forums such as this also equips us with the knowledge and tools to better understand mental health, support our patrons effectively, and even manage our own emotional well-being. At our libraries, we consciously work to build inclusive communities where those on the spectrum and those that are not on the spectrum can learn together, they can thrive together, they can interact without stigma or discrimination. This commitment to inclusion remains central to the mission of the Ghana Library Authority. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I wish to use this opportunity to make a simple but important call to action. Across our library spaces are numerous resources on mental health, books, educational materials, digital resources, and professionals who are ever ready to support patrons in accessing credible information on emotional and mental well-being. We must take advantage of these free and accessible resources to deepen our understanding and strengthen our support systems. We often encourage our patrons that just as they would confidently ask a librarian to help them locate a book on finances or business or career development, they should never hesitate to ask for assistance in locating key resources on anxiety, on autism, on ADHD, on depression, stress management, or all the other mental health concerns. Because asking questions is research, and applying knowledge is advocacy. Ladies and gentlemen, just as mental health professionals and advocates work tirelessly to support individuals through difficult journeys, libraries and professionals also stand by, ready to make that journey smoother through information, through empathy and access. Our doors remain open, our resources remain available. And above all, we want every individual to know that they do not have to go through this journey alone. Let us continue to build communities where empathy reduces stigma, where understanding overcomes silence, and where access to knowledge becomes a bridge to healing and hope. On behalf of the Executive Director of the Ghana Library Authority, we once again commend the organizers of this forum for this impactful initiative and for prioritizing conversations that matter deeply to the well-being of the society. Thank you very much, and God bless us all. God bless us all.
My takeaway is that reading is the antidote for mental health, right, Madam Victoria? Reading is the antidote for mental health to a very good extent. All right, thank you very much. Please, let's give it up for her once again. Now, globally, autism diagnosis continues to soar. It is pretty much on the rise. And if we bring it to the local level, this happens because some people, as I mentioned earlier, shy away from conversations relating to mental health. But this morning, if we want to understand how to treat people, especially who are on the autism spectrum, then we need to hear from some families themselves as to how they've been able to deal with raising kids who have autism. And briefly, we'll be discussing beyond the diagnosis, the realities, struggles, and strength of raising children with autism. I'll be doing that with a panel, and I'll just go quickly and introduce them. I will first have Mavis Asantwa Opoku. She is a public health, mental health officer at the ACCRA Psychiatric Hospital and the executive director of the Rob Foundation. Mavis, can we see you? Give her a hand, please, as she comes up on stage. The next person to join us on stage is Amina Soa. She is a parent and a grandparent navigating the realities of supporting a child with autism. Amina, where are you? Please join me on stage. The third person will be Noah Elom Dati, whose parenting journey includes raising a child living with autism and cerebral palsy. Can we see you, please? Can you join us on stage? We will also be speaking to this morning Deborah Jakpasu, also a parent of a child with autism who continues to advocate through lived experience. Deborah. All right, and finally we have Olivia Akeleye, also a parent of a child with autism. She's bringing her personal journey and perspective to today's discussions. And it is worthy to note that all these people, or majority of them, are here with their children, so they can better speak to the subject matter. Once again, we are discussing beyond the diagnosis, the realities, struggles, and the strength of raising children with autism. Please, give them a hand for joining us on stage. And of course, they're all here with their children as well. And so I'll just take my seat and then the engagements begin. You need to clap for me too. Thank you. All right, so I'll just start first of all with you, Mavis. You are the public health officer, so you have the wealth of knowledge when it comes to mental health disease in this country. First of all, tell us, how often is autism diagnosed in this country?
Hello. Okay. Thank you very much. And it's a privilege to be part of such conversation because it's just recently that we've seen that in this part of the country, we begin to talk about such conditions, autism and cerebral palsy and Down syndrome. People don't even understand it when we still explain. You can see a parent who has a child with Down syndrome and you ask, oh, what's the problem? Oh, they said my child has autism. Meanwhile, that is Down syndrome. So it's actually a very good platform when we get the opportunity to educate the public on such conditions. So autism, definitely, it is, people are now getting the diagnosis, because now, even for regular education, if you want to send your child to school, especially with some of the private school, you have to send your child for assessment.
Right.
And people, in fact, it's even until that level, people begin to know that, oh, my child has a problem. So all this while, you see this child moving around without parents knowing that they have a child like that. Under rare circumstances will you see people bringing their child to the psychiatric hospital to assess them, unless it was recommended.
Is it because of the stigma? Because I don't think that people can easily and confidently walk into the psychiatric hospital. They're afraid of being tagged as mental patients. We hear that all the time.
Yes, even those of us working there, sometimes some of you like, oh, don't worry, you behave like your patient. I don't know how my patients behave. Yeah. So I don't think it's just the stigma. I think it is the knowledge and the understanding. So you see, before you see them bringing a child to the psychiatric hospital for assessment, it's either the child has been referred or the mother is seeing something extreme. Those are the instances that you see them bringing the child to for assessment. And most assessments are even done outside the psychiatric hospital. Most of the assessments are done in the assessment centers and the organizations that actually takes care of persons with disability.
Okay.
But now, due to publicity, due to education, people are becoming aware of their children. So if you see your child doing anything extra or going beyond what we are all seeing, because now there's education, now you can even ask somebody what autism is, and the person or even if the person cannot explain, the person might have heard what autism is. And it's actually helping people to bring their children for assessment. Now, teachers are being trained on how to assess a child. If you are in a classroom with a child and you are seeing anything that the child, any behavior that doesn't look like a regular child. So now even the teachers are helping out to bring out these people for proper assessments to be done for the diagnosis to be reached.
Okay, but for somebody who hasn't gone through this education, is it easy to spot somebody with autistic traits?
Initially it was no, because initially we have to even be diagnosing autism at the age of teenage before. It's not that it is not obvious. It is obvious, but we are refusing to accept the fact. Because a child with autism, we know that autism is not a physical condition. Autism is a neurodevelopmental disorder. So as your brain grows, so we expect that by the time you are 2 years, you should be doing this. By the time you are 3 years, even our weighing books, the book that we go for weighing with, it has a developmental pathway in it. So at every time it's being charted, then they see the nurses asking you, is your child talking? Is your child doing this? We are only assessing to see if the child is hitting the right milestone at every point in time. So if you notice that your child is having a communication problem at a particular age, you see that your child is not able to interact with peers, you see that your child behavior, you will definitely see it. But our should I say, the understanding, the acceptance is not there. People are not willing to accept the fact that my child has a condition. Even if you are telling the parents. So when we were writing the basic education certificate examination, we were moving from one school to another school. Even at the mere looking at one particular child, you can see that this child has a problem. And even the teachers were encouraging the parent to send the child to assessment so that they can, work around reasonable accommodations for the child. And parents were still saying, no, there is nothing wrong with my child. God forbid. No, my child is okay. So it's not just only about the stigma. Maybe it's the stigma that they are worried that they don't want people to know that they have such children. But I think the understanding and the acceptance is not there.
Okay, before we wrap up on this conversation, you would tell us or teach us how to accept some of these conditions. But I'll place the focus now on Noah. You are the only man in our midst, and you have a child with autism and cerebral palsy. How did you find out about this?
Okay, thank you very much. It all started with a shock, because from the beginning, I have been seeing it around in the hospitals. Anytime I go to the hospitals, I've been seeing it around, and I find it difficult to believe that this thing does exist. But until it happens to me one day, when I noticed from the childbirth of my son, and from the month of, from 3 months to 4 months, he's supposed to sit. Actually, when you put the child down, he's supposed to sit. As for me, myself, I'm a construction worker, so I'll be going to work all the time, but the mother is with the child. So I know nothing about the child well-being. So one day I was at work and the mother called me, the child is not sitting. Whenever I put it down, he falls back.
That's after 3-4 months?
Yes.
Okay.
When I put him down, he falls at the side and front. So something is wrong. We should take him back to the regional hospital where it all started. It all started when they gave birth to him 7 months, 2 weeks, 2 days. So in the hospital. The following day, early in the morning, the midwife told us that she has noticed some yellowish sometimes at the eye, which is jaundice. So we should rush him to the regional hospital.
That's right at birth?
Yes, right at birth.
Okay.
He was born at midnight. So early in the morning, the midwife came and saw that. So we have to rush him to the hospital, regional hospital. It took about 3 hours journey to the regional hospital. So when we got there, they admitted him and they started working on him. So we spent about 2 months in the hospital until he got treated. So they discharged us back to the house. So 3 months' time, 4 months, that was when the whole thing started. So, in fact, it came to a shock to me. And we went back to the hospital and we were admitted again for 6 months. So from that 3 months to the next 6 months, it has not been easy. And they referred us to Kolebu, from Central Regional Hospital to Kolebu.
So you came from the Central region?
Yes.
Down to Kolebu?
Yes.
Okay. How old is your child now?
It has been extremely difficult. Now he's 8 years now.
He's 8 years now?
Yes. And
So 8 years with a child with autism and cerebral palsy. Walk us through the difficulties.
the difficulties have been with raising a child like that. As at now, for the past 3.5 years, I've been raising my child alone.
Alone?
Yeah, I've been the father and the mother.
Without his mother?
Yes, for the past 3.5 years.
What happened to his mother?
The mother left after our marriage got broken. We got divorced. And later on, she came to my office and dumped the child on me, that I should take my child. She's pursuing her life on. So I should take my child. And I have no option. He's my son, so I have to take him. So I took him. At the beginning, it was extremely difficult because I was working. You know, construction, you have to go to work early in the morning. So I have to employ somebody to come and take care of him in the house. So I will leave the person with him in the house. The time that I go back to the house, I will see my son with bruises all over. I mean, it's not, so the money that I've been spending is going to waste. So I told the woman that I can't let her do this anymore. So I let her go, and I tried to do it myself. Within 2 weeks, I was not going to work. I was with him alone.
Okay.
In the house, doing everything.
So what happened to your contract?
I was queried and I was suspended for 3 months for not coming to work.
Did your bosses know?
Yes. My bosses know of my son's condition. But they said I have to employ somebody to look after him. So I did that, and later on I decided to do things my own because I realized that my son is suffering. So I have to take him back to the hospital. So I'll be going to the hospital with him, and they have been advising me and be diagnosing, doing a whole sort of test to see what is actually wrong with him. So later on, they saw that it was cerebral palsy.
Okay. And this was after how long?
And that was when he was 1.5 years to 1.5 years to 2 years. When we came to Kolebu, they referred us back to Trauma Hospital Winneba for a specialist, bones specialist. So we went there, and that was when the specialist told us that it was cerebral palsy. So I have to take the challenge on myself alone. So I later on realized that I have to go back to work because I need money to take care of him. So I employed another person. And
take care of him?
Yeah, to take care of him in the home. And every week, she takes 1,000 Ghana cedis every week.
So that's about, in a month, on the average, you pay 4,000 Ghana cedis.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I realized that even my salary is not enough. So then I have to let the person go, even though she's taking good care of him.
The second caretaker also left because she
Yes.
couldn't afford.
Yes, I couldn't afford. So I have to do it myself. So I was doing it, and then I wrote back to work, and I pleaded with them. And they took the query off. And then they took me back to work again as a supervisor. So my salary got a little bit up.
Okay, that's good. Kudos to your bosses.
So that was when I realized that I have to take my work seriously because I need to take care of my son. So I pleaded with my mom She's now 80 years. I pleaded with my mom here in Accra that things are getting difficult. So I flew with my son for the past 1 year, 2 months, and it's not getting better. So she should help me take care of my son. He's a grandson. So she accepted it, and I brought my son to Accra, to my mom. So it's me, my mom, and our house caretaker, who is sitting there with my son, who has been taking care of my son for the past almost 2 years now. So I've been going from Cape Coast to Accra every weekend to come and help my mom take care of my son. For the past 3.5 years.
Okay, please, can we show some appreciation? This is very tough. But is he enrolled in school? Is he in school at the moment?
I've tried getting him to school. I've gone round, but the fees are huge. Some pays in dollars.
Because of his condition.
Some pays in dollars I can afford. Even the lowest one, I went to somewhere in Akosombo. There's some there. What they are taking is even lower than the rest that I've gone through. But it seems without toiletries, you are going to pay like 4,500.
Ghana cedis or
yes,
dollars?
Ghana cedis.
Okay.
For a year. Then the toiletries will be coming every month. So if you add the toiletries to it, it's almost about 7,000 Ghana cedis
for the whole
a
year. Okay.
And I think I can't afford it. So I have to leave my son with my mom for us to be managing him like this, because he can't walk, he can't speak, he can't sit, he can't do anything unless you do everything for him.
Okay, so what does his future look like from where you sit?
Pardon?
What does his future look like from where you sit?
I'm traumatized. As
You're
for
traumatized?
me, yes, as for me, I think my heart is broken. I never saw this coming. He's my only child.
Your only child?
Yes. He's my only child. Because of him, I can't continue my life again.
You cannot remarry?
Because how? I mean, how am I going to cope with another marriage? Even the relationship that I've been having, if they come and they see my son, within 1 month, they walk away. Even my own family, they neglect me because of my son.
I think it just goes to Mavis's point that when it comes to acceptance, it's a bit of a difficulty. You know what? I'll let you hold on. Your story is getting really emotional. We can't cry. But let's take another story from Amina Soa. You are a parent and a grandparent whose child has autism. Talk to me about your story.
Pacho, me mam, me na ba ko no o she fita no.
Okay, yehuno.
Ana ne ma mi ankasa so. Ma yire me ho saa na.
Omutu ne wo autism. Wow.
Ti ma me no na aja obi no omo se de ote no. Omo nyi se no de wo sa ewe abayo no ote ni chi. On so ye nyi no na adwem. Nye papa. Ti eguso sa na aja me de no ko school. E ko school ade complain o tete books o yes say. Na ma fa ba.
Pacho ye pese ye te won kan ti obetimi the mic na ben wa no kakra.
Na ma fa ba. Ti me fa ba. Do school I must say, oh, auntie, obadi a special child. Ti membo.
Banankasa nya wona na no.
Me nana no.
Okay.
Ti o ko sa kra sa na mi be hia. Sasia ke foundation. Na mi tu. To no bo me kakra. Na neni abane ni so. Ti se eguso. Say.
But before obenya emboano, na asetene mu to saying because oba ne onana omunyina they have a mental health.
Oh, satam na nye. Ba me yire me ho sa. Se ntira ne ma me mpo mentumi afa na nko special school na nye kura. Ti me ni be ba me ho no so no. Na me ko share men bi no say, oh, wonim sanka. Na me say minim sanka de say wechi. Me nim. Na obi yire no de no wo ye. E wo ye no po wan hwe no. Wan hwe no. Na wa hwe akwala na.
Obi taking advantage of Obano. No, or changing saying because of the condition.
Wan hwe no. Say nyo no. Mba ne ye jimi.
Sebi. Sano kai.
Me chew, bonya me ba chew. Ye wa na ye se wakoji. Eye ne ba no peni no ne papa. Ne ba no nya 16 years ya no so anya 60 years. Asan ye je omu e wo jiro. Oba empo me ka sa o ma me benya nya asa bi aka se o. Akola no se se we nyi edu baby. Me mbo a da bi. Ha, mi gusu sa me ye ma de mi gusu ko mi chi mi de show. Ana obi nso asan ko yire no. Baby no nete. Masia oro. Eno so.
Obi yire wana Obana na se onana no.
Me ba no, me nana ndi ono de o.
Ebiom.
Oh. Wa hwe no. Me hwe ma de sa. Na me de be hia anti asia. Waso me nana peni no mu. Eya every Saturday o kire o ma de kakra. E de ka ni school na okono. Nti enya aseda me de mama masia. That's
The revelations are really shocking. For those of you who do not understand what she said, she talked about the fact that her child and her grandchild have all been diagnosed with autism, and unfortunately for her child, she's been taken advantage of on 2 occasions and has gotten pregnant. The first child had autism. Inti Obane second born or so or you okay? Second born is okay. Okay. I see. Inti Ojo system no health system aye wom say aboa nkofo bi to say mo dealing with condition be say.
Oh, say no mishia masia no. Say ade. Me won say bibia ekoso. Esa say me ba ne ba peni no. Say the hotenenti. Ene na e won adwim. E won adwim pa. Mani books say obetete ni nyina. Ko bo no mo special child. Ah, me hwa akola nso a. Me hu ba eye kakra no. Say do mo ka say special eye kakra no. Na me so na hwe onya ne message no. Oyi okita ne say. Heading.
Yeah, nyoma ordinary nkrofoning ye.
Say be chere kakra. O say.
Oh yeah, nyoma ebia wo nye. Nyoma ordinary people enye no ye.
Ade a wo mpe kra no be. Wo so be bono kra o say membo no. Ade a enye. Even though ote won auto books ma the course go betiti ni nyina. Ote won. Because bono am say oh we special. Nti bia me de madwen ene susu no na me wo say oh akola we ampa nti me de no ko hospital dakoro na me ka tell doctor say oh hwe me na ide na nurse na adwea toche makakra na me ye den no so we fa no ko hospital sa de be yi o ma me ndro o ma bibia ya no me wi afiske no am de beto aso biu
nti hospital no onko bium. Because unisika.
Miniska. Jaye. Tinyami yi masi ambaye no chira no ade kakra. Oh. Ubeda yes amen yes why. Yes amen yes. Tunum so onko na makochi ahwehwero. Because no te nkwala say when you 16 years nso adwe no eni ho. Adwe ni ho. Ti menya aseda pa.
Okay, please, let's give it up for her. This is very emotional. Okay, we can take the story of Deborah Jakpasu. You also have a child with autism. Tell us about it. Not a beautiful African prince dress, no. Okay.
Na enye easy mame. De one me nyimu ye. Na me nim say me wo menya problem. Ti me hu an me ko hospital ye see me pressure akosro. Didi ma afidi ya jimi to hospital na musi omo yi na anye yi. And omo yi no mudi shekubetam. To nyama na manche okubetam na omo yi no. Ye be fie minim hwe. And one say me didn't say chi me hwe all right. But me didn't tenase a on to me tenase. Ebi o me didn't say chi na ne kon ahwe wie mu say. But me nim say ya rebi sa na ya no. Didi ma afidi me didn't be go school. Na me pe adwuma pa but na mo onu so nti se me ti fie me ti me nya adwuma me de ne go school no okọ e no kakra e no mo se me ba no o special child ti me fa no kọ omo school na me ne ko me ni be bia omo school wo enti didim ma ne papa so e be pam ye e si abonten e na ma akwala ne ye yalefo nti
Oh, papa, ne ukunu.
me kunu
Epamomo.
e pam ye
Because of a colonic condition.
e si abonten ba
Or say your own form so.
Montumi kasa me fom so okọ baby yesi o ye nsuo ba enti ya ma no 7 days obesa na chi akọ baby ofi ba ye so onko de a onhwe no
After 7 days, no so onko e.
onko ye oho enti me kita ne se ya fidie obetumi si abonten otumi si awote me ni baby ameda me bra ye papa Wanam hon baby a mikobia odi mechi mini na na ekoba ti me na meton ade but ade ba ko obenyi wie na ade ba ko a ewo ne ho a meja ade ton ni se onkasa sebi obekọ jana kura okogu ne ho me kwa echi meba no ni amede ne meja no no meba no na me ba ne se wia so na ho asana de ne ho because of okoja na egu ne ho me hwe to asusa me hwe a ha me ana me ja echi ne ko na me ti na efi nti in fact ne ebe di ni edan a ebe rent adem no na ye de mame ba ja se dan ka nyame metumi twia mre ni so a metumi twia kakaka
Oh, yeah, then now, chia.
me won ma penifo me kita ma onu no to so 4 instead of say ka menya school na me de ne be ko no me nya school no ti me ma ne beti ne fie na me de hwe penifo no to o ma wie school ene o mo no mo ye dwuma ka hankara o mo de ye de ehwe ye enti edidi ma fi de me si okay adwuma na me ye no se na okọ agya agu no ho no aduane na me ton nkrofo emma ho bi enti me gya adwuma na beti ne fie me be ko enkosu achi eno so sa me ba no se wia so na ho sana de ne ho na me gya eno so ye ti fie edidi ma fi de last year ansa na be ready this year no e ma me be fa aduro se menom na mama ono so efi se baby a me ne be ko bia
Now, person okun.
yes na me ku akwala no so because obi a ne ho be hwe na mama we mi jan ma ne sister penifo no kra na omo to mi ja omadwuma be hwe no eti me hwe na me si da bi me fa aduro kra me fa aduro me tina so no so tina menim na me si ho aduro we be numa wu because u papa kra on hwe owo ye nyina na eti area ba ko but on fi abofra no
Till date.
se dia me fi ni nchen ana obi ba pie mi so se adan na me chechere mu che no se mo amoni ma ha o me fe mu ofi ha afro me e ma eyi abeso na dan ka e dan ra begina me gate anu no ojiska me bresa asamanye bia ma no e ma homete tika me ku me wona ma ko ono so na asa eneja nipa no ajido ni femesem na ode me kasa ya eche na me be hu sister bi na ode me koma Sasha madam Sasha first ni me ba no ti se oti hoi wo hu odo mo ha sisi ayi be hu se na bibi ye no enti ayesa na attention ni na abeda ye so
On penny pa.
on penny pem se ye nta se na omo ye enti nta akọ ni pem enti ono so me nko enti me fa ono so nko na mo Sasha ke me be hu sister Sasha anti okunya invite bi ana afre ye na ye kọ kakra na omu kire ye kọ omu kire ya de na me sua ade wo first me tabu no pa because me ya but on enam madam Sasha anti me kọ na ye kire ya de e ma ye nya omo se ama me benya vim bi se me hwe no me da chi obeye yi ampa Me hwɛ no sɛ si a ɔte wei. Enka first count na ha. Aha nso no kura. Ba se se de nyame adom otumi tena se. Se se okɔgya na otumi frɛ mama. Meko toilet.
Otumi kasa na
Se se afina ye hu mama Sasha no. Se no ɔkyerɛkyerɛ na ade na ade na fi de kasa no eba kakra. Eba. Enti ɔte wɔ toilet di na ɔkasa ma meko toilet. Ba first de onka kura no ɔkɔgu no ho. Se se de ɔka comedy na ɔka mama medidi. Otumi kɔ nkwala ntam kodi agoro kakra. Odi agoro na adwene mu ka ne sa na obebu nkwala na ho nyina. Enti ayesa no me ma na koto okodi agoro kakra na me ama frɛ no. Because me nim say tam no so a obebu obi ba basa na ma ko je no. Onam ho onya 18 years. On go school.
Onya 18.
18 years. On go
We
school.
do ni penny fie so.
Yes. Ba obu ne nsa. Titiri ne anti a me se meti ne fie mi nkɔ adwuma bia ne se obu ne nsa no ho ofe we se enye ubehu n'anim ana se n'ani ye bi na ubehu a unhu se onye no ma te se yen ha ba se no ɔkye no obu ne nsa megya no ofie a obi betumi ade na abeda no onyam na asa abeda me so me mu a me ni ba bi da sese ne ebedi mpo madam di mai.
Inti sisi a wunye adwuma ya obai wo problem yi. I mean, Madam Sasha tries to be boamo. Emwabe na sisi a unhia to be able to deal with this because I say yare na hon si asia no wenya. Inti wankasa emwabe na sisi a unhia.
Ehia mo ane say meye adwuma. After that no amwa bia beba bia nkoma sister Sasha because ye dooso enye ye nko a nkrofo wo ho omo so hia mo a. Nti amwa bi beba for me the amwa bi beba ba say enu ekire kura no ye mbo sister Sasha because oye krado say obehwe nkwala no ukọ baby a ne fie wo ye kọ ho a wo hu say enye omo ne onu no onu na ewo omo se no ofa omo se bi ma no kura so no nsuo me be na no nsuo no nsuo but ye fa ka akura sister na obi ye no ho ti say eya na ye ma reho ni papa da so ti ase ene but wo ye ya ma ena ma bofra ne nti me na me ye papa esa ye maame ema omo nyina ameti wasisi.
Please, let's appreciate Deborah. And I think it's really fair at this point to appreciate Jahara Osman as well because she's put together a really wonderful initiative.
Yes, I'm ketwa. Ye bre. Ankwala na eketa me enye sister. Shasha akora me nim say me ba no ye special children. Me nim. And now ye autism. Me nim. And aduane bia me ma no. Aduane bia me ma no. But me be hu Madam Sasha no. O ma me ya we say aduane bi wo ho a. E ma me gya na ma. First na mama wo no mutan nti anytime bia ne hu ne mu sonsuo wotwetwe ne sikra se bio. Mama ya be fi ne num aba no. I said, Uncle Madam Sasha.
It's Madam Sasha or Jessica, now this is free.
On Jeshwe.
Wow.
On Jeshwe. So when you invite to be near Bequa, on one faka, or my Adriane, recently I grow a man Colano Mode. Now who may banner?
Obano was on the runway.
Oh, Mode.
Hey.
Na many aji. Na me nim dano misuya pa because na me nim say. Me bano so bet me be bisa. Inti I said that be what if Madam Sasha. If you say, or Sean Colano pa.
Okay. Yadase. Please, Deborah Japasu once again. And I think it's fair to bring in Olivia at this point. Olivia is also a parent with a child with autism, and she's also going to talk about her personal journey raising such a child. Yanka Brofana Yankachi, okay. Yada was to say waba. You also have so about autism. Only a star boy. Okay. Catching your experience. First of all, we're saying.
When you're 10 years last month.
So, okay, you've been living with him for the past 10 years.
10 years.
Okay, catching your experience.
And yeah, easy cry. Me die, me be one no. Next is for no more shame no. Almost in my time in soon, I'm could die.
Okay, we may have to give her a few seconds so that she can tell us her story. I mean, if you've been listening to all these stories, it's clearly really emotional. It is not an easy thing. Some people have lost their marriages, among others, because they have children with autism. But yeah, you are very strong, even to, climb the stage to want to share your story. Oh, no, or vim, no.
I am a firstborn. I was at the age of 21.
Oh,
Now
now it is
no more
21.
21.
Okay.
My name is She. I'm my time in soon. But before I maybe a corner, lady be advised him say sometimes nurses for no time is no cry. See what time is 20. I had tried so over him. Now me see okay. Until me try say met him na me friend nursing. Not ordained because I don't know which him for bed no, and I me for bed no. Till me for bed no. Oh, I call it any. I feel the chim my bread. Yeah, boom, yeah, boom, yankasa. After the man by known to me soon. Me ban away soon 1 month. We num 1 month. Now, I'm refer your call trauma. See, I called that trauma so for 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, now so young brave obey okay. And see, I be fear no. Send your ma ye and see me cast no one. Okay, and Sankakan Kakra. Obe fie na obe num kakra for 6 months no san agyaye nti vitamin ena ya ma no saa nti onya 1.5 no ena me san nyem nechi nti nechi ba ne baaye no 7 months na okasa onante afide ho na me realize say then na se nyama nkoye because 7 months to me nante kasa na we nya 1.5 or 2 years na ontimi nka ma de a there's a problem with her. Until now, me share TV station, me share TV, GTV. And I say, Uncle 1.5, 2 years, I say at least on come man, no more mass education. Until my husband buy and I make a train say it's not okay. When for them so hospital no sweet room. I'm a savage, not your coy. Until your coy name, me de Aqualana coy no more assist Aqualana no so. Me bandy the need a delay. Nti o ma ye ndro say ye mfa ma no ye ndu no ne boy den papa sa for 6 months no so okay ye san fa no ko Winneba back si ye ko ye na Winneba for ye call children hospital from there no I ye ko lebu ne akoye labs amano ye labs man no e ko si say ye be speech therapy so anya easy ye ko bad sa na papa kitan me si medicate wa ne she mechi na ye ko na ye baba edu baby na skasem na nya easy.
But before obe won na uye ejuma.
Before me won na me ye ejuma.
Okay.
Na me ton ade. But eba ne sa ne de bibia season ti na papa na de bia okoba. Nti eba ne sa no na skasem so aye den because of ne aketwa ne nti. Omo trade my say mentat edu bi say enfa ma no for 6 months. Anu de yen ska na ya to yentimi ankobiem. Yentimi ankobiem. Nti edu onyi kakra 2 years 3 years no na nya easy o. Wo shwe ne hye dem mo abo wan say we pie. Na wa call different room. Woni so betete wo no na wa kwhye washroom. Woni so betete no de nsa kwhye we ni mu water closet ni mu ene ne akumbia na de kona no.
Nti anya say na so ye den. It was clearly the condition because very often parents be now mistaken omoka say omomba na so ye den but obana na nya so den.
Me there no because of say almost delay no ya as for the hyper the behavior no unti maintenance ne de okasa maintenance obe sorry okasa maintenance obe sorry obi ba bo so fere no de no ha to fom unti me hwe ne pa nanim nti kakra didim sa na mental na ye de ma no nti in fact papa de ondi no ho agro na nya easy kra obinum wo ha mo ba nsem bebre but papa say in the first born so be fight am no till time akola no tin pa me gina 1 minute ama me husband
I think we should appreciate her. She's very strong for doing this. But while at least, they are onja or hoye.
But you know
Unlike
that's all.
most of the
When the chiba your
examples
my
you've
son when
had.
the chibanta for 2 boys. Nti me ba na me kunu ohwe nkwala no. Na me ne na aba. There was a time me kunu because of say won ne wa abont te say anka ye wa ha no. Obepie kura na ochi. Te say me kunu ne ko bebi a obefa no. Nti na area ho no kwa mo nim say me ba no po na nti. Me kunu de na abo the chest saa nti there was a time na woman be say akola no timi nanti o say ayo timi nanti o say why are there what I see me jana obeko say me fa ne mbo me bo mbribe ba ya me kunu ya chest infection po ni chest ni na ye ne ya nti me ye ne ho hwe because of akola no nti me de na me wo fie me ye adwuma bia ono ana de bia okobasa na ya easy sometimes u share na atare a day me timi sisa ne shirt more than 5 times obewi ni hina obewi top ni hina to fi
Or saying,
or like or you aggressive sometimes be trigger no e bia nkwala ne di agro o pese on dibi o betiti nkwala no nti nkwala ne ma no kwa na ye ne ya na wafa na tare na hye ne num o pe car pa in case na car atwemu na ne jika no a na it's like o pese bia on ben car na bibia na onya access to the car then God na tare a hye ne num nti o be wi na tare within 1 minute na wa wi top ni na asa down no ye okay o hu atare say asin there neat fine by top and don't even find shene biom obewi a day once san ho dia hu na untumi ben no obewi na tare sa na to fia ye na tare mu sa owe no na papa so kan kakra no so nya na wato owe no most sometimes na eya ma hometo o hwe ne yama mu a tops ni hina asay na ma fa scissors na me see me shape na me da share papa say eba ne sa looking nice nti no ne be ne say be na me say atare a ye toto ye nche no see sa na ya me dia ye ma ye nti yes we fa ne sa na ya me adum kan kakra na ekita last month me 10 years na ye dia ba be do ha no nti
why are there? You know, Mavis, I'll wrap up with you shortly, but I want us to give the mic to Madam Sasha. You have to tell us why you do all of these things for free, the kind of assistance that you've offered. So let's get the microphone to Madam Sasha. She's going to tell us.
It's very important. I have one program with her. She has a parent and caregiver support group. I also have a parent and caregiver support group. But if you look at what she does at her end, it's really amazing.
Absolutely. You see, Madam Sasha, we'd like to hear from you, at least for a minute. You need to let us know why you do the things that you do. Please, that's the superwoman helping with autism-related issues.
Thank you very much. And thank you for my mothers for appreciating what I do for them. I actually didn't know they appreciated it this much until listening to them now.
Do you run a foundation, first of all?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Salsia Cares Foundation. So it's a foundation that was inspired by an experience I had in a classroom with one of my learners. She actually had a hearing loss that I didn't know. So I realized that even with people who are educated, it's not all of us that are able to identify and help these children. I decided to get to the community, get those people that are overlooked, put them together with the knowledge that I have with special education needs, and then give it to them for free. Because I think basically the reason why most people are not going for assessment and going on with interventions is financial reasons. So if I am doing it for them for free...
Because the treatment is expensive.
Exactly.
Okay.
If you are asked to go for speech therapy, you need to pay. So as I was giving Joanna speech therapy for free, we are seeing results. Assuming she was asked to go for speech therapy elsewhere, she would have still been non-verbal. But now she speaks, and we are working on her confidence.
You can tell how Joanna loves her. I mean, just look at that.
All the kids are like that at my end. I have about 30 of them, and 15 of them are modeling now. So there's this project I started somewhere last year, Ability in Disability. We started with arts, Some of them were drawing, and then we did this bead making thing. And this year I said, let's venture into modeling. And I have 15 of them that are doing
With
so
autism.
well. Yes.
Who are running
Cerebral
the
palsy,
class.
autism, Down syndrome, and physical disabilities. Yes. So I have all of the disabilities you can think of. All of them are there. I accept all of them. So they model, and we are invited to events to come and model. They like doing those things, but their parents didn't know that they could even do them. So we just unleash their potentials, guide them through it, give the caregivers the necessary understanding they need to have about these children, and help them at home. Because going for professional help is expensive. So that's just it. The motivation.
Well
is just
done. Please, let's appreciate her better. That's Madame Sasha. She's the savior of these women here. Mavis, let me just wrap up with you. For all of these people, what sorts of institutional help do they need?
I don't even think we need an institutional care. We need a community-based intervention. Because even now, with the Mental Health Authority, now we are doing community care services, just like Honorable is saying. So I'm in charge of community mental health in Greater Accra. And we are saying that you are supposed to access healthcare or mental health care service closer to you because, one, the transportation, two, the availability of the resource persons. So this is not even, we don't even need, because we are shifting away from institution care. So we need community-based rehabilitation services. So now if you look at our mental health service, now you only come to the psychiatric hospital if you are referred or if you need admission. Now every hospital, every health center, every CHIP compound has a community psychiatric unit that you can access. So at least it reduces cost and it reduces let me say cost and time. And it also makes it easier for somebody to access health. I remember speech therapy, as at those times, I also have a child with special needs. So that was the motivation to actually start putting women together. And as at that time, the only place you can access speech therapy was Kwelebu. And the Kwelebu I'm talking about, if you are to go today, the next appointment will be in about 4 months' time. So as at that time, what happens to your child? But now at least there are speech therapy. Even still, Krampono, it's not like something you can actually access. And it's not cheap. Special needs services in this country is not cheap.
On the average, if you're going for speech therapy, how much do you pay on the average?
It depends on where you are going for that speech therapy. So, yeah, it depends on where you are going.
At the government hospital, it is 50 cedis per session.
And even that 3 months, when 3 months to get up and tell the therapist is not, is not there. So you can just imagine. Meanwhile, these therapies are therapies that need to be done on daily basis. So normally we recommend.
They're supposed to be done on daily basis.
Best
but here it is done one in every 3 months.
3 months is when there is space for you. So if there is space availability.
What's the problem?
Because we have only one speech therapist taking care of 260 patients, and every day he has to see, and there are new patients coming.
The whole of Ghana?
Oh, no.
Just in Accra?
Just in Accra.
One speech therapist?
Even Accra is better. I was shocked that day. I didn't even know whether I should cry or I should match a demonstration to the Ministry of Health. We wanted an assessment for a child in Eastern Region, and Eastern Region doesn't have an assessment center. And Eastern Region stretches from what's the name? The Krobo area, to the Afam Plains, and ends at my hometown, Oda. That is Eastern Region. And the whole of this church doesn't have an a government assessment center. So if you're in the Eastern Region and you want to assess assessment, you have to come to Accra. So let's bypass Eastern Region more. Ashanti Region is now Ashanti Region. Move a little bit to the Savannah, to the Bono inside Kakra. You have to move all the way to Accra for assessments.
Is it that we do not have speech therapists that are being trained?
They are trained.
What exactly is the problem?
They are trained, but they are just a handful. Even in the psychiatric hospital, apart from Ankafo and Accra, Pantine, training us, we are done. So if they distribute us, how many is left to go somewhere else? So the problem is, the facilities are there, but the people are not there to work. That is why that gap we are trying to close that gap by training healthcare professionals, by training teachers, by training people who can understand what we are saying to give the kind of services that we want it to be given. So it is expensive. Expensive. If I tell you, I took my daughter to one school, and the school fees they mentioned, I wonder if people are in Ghana here and they are able to afford that school fees. Then we have to change our profession because...
Do you have an experience yourself?
Yes, I have a child with special needs.
Your
who
daughter?
She wrote BC this year. And that's why we are advocating for parents. Don't leave the child. And she's among the third person to have Down syndrome to write BC in the whole country.
Well done.
It's sad. It's very sad. And this is a country that has rectified the UN conventions on the rights of persons with disability, with authorities, with...
Do you think the issue also has to do with lack of will to want to help these people?
In fact...
Did you see commitment, enough commitment?
So initially, the commitment was not there. People felt that their children are useless because, in quotes, please, yes. So if I take care of this child, what will I benefit? I have 4 children, plus her. So if I want to pay school...
I think even in Deborah's issue, she was asked to give the child to the water or something like that.
Oh, yes. Even me in Greater Accra here, somebody told... I was even still working in the psychiatric hospital as at the time I delivered. So you can just imagine, it's not even about too far as in I'm an illiterate. No. And the person was like, oh, dear, you've tried all options. If it is not okay, let's try the herbal way. And I was like, so sometimes you have to become flexible. University. I was like, okay, let me see what happened. And it was like, oh, when we get there, don't worry. They will do something to see, like the child's, then later they will add the herbal medicine for you. I said, okay, sister, I picked my daughter. How was she here? I didn't even go to Suhum. How was she just here? I entered into a fine building. Oh, like a fine building. I entered and the outside looked fine, but the inside looks like a forest because there are shrines everywhere with snaps everywhere. And that instance, I began to pray because I told God that, under no circumstance will I come to such a place. I was only curious to see if there's, because I was tired. And the man was like, sit down. The spirits are here. We have to call your daughter's spirit to see why she came in the form she came in. I was like, oh God, what have I done? And, it's not fun. Like us today, I'm saying it looks funny and you'll be like, even at your... But when you get to that level, it is a different issue. And I just sat down and I was just praying to my God, blood of Jesus, blood of Jesus. I was like, where have I gone? And the man was chanting heavily. He could have said anything and I would have believed. And the next thing is that where your daughter was coming from, he was married to a cripple and he didn't seek permission from the cripple before coming, and therefore they presented her like this. And I was like, okay, so what is there to do? Sister,
was there going to be a divorce between she and the cripple?
In that instance, I didn't even know what to even say or do at that time. So the next question will be, okay, what is there to be done? And they were like, okay, I need to present a cobra's egg.
Cobra?
You see the number of eggs they counted. There are some animals, it was now that I noticed they don't even lay eggs. They actually give birth. But at that time, they were asking for all those eggs. Plus 3,000 Ghana cedis, that is 13 or so, because my daughter is 40. That is 14 years ago. Plus 3,000 Ghana cedis. That time, that was 30 million. So you can just imagine. I'm even finding it difficult to eat with all these eggs. So I asked them that, okay, when we go, what is going to happen? They are telling me that there's a small river. They will leave the eggs beside the river and leave my daughter around it, and the spirit, the husband will come for her. And I make her say, if not, I'm telling you, I would have still gone for that option. Because having a child not knowing what to become of her in the future. As we all sit here, we have children that we are aspiring to become accountants. But I can tell you for a fact, those of us here, we know our children can never get there, even with this kind of system we live in. Because when you give birth to a child with special needs in Africa, it is not government matter. It is just you and your child. Even when they are saying that there are government policies like the disability fund, no, Master, you get there and you still don't assess it. We have mothers 5 years, 6 years. When they call in the complaint, I don't even know where to pass. That is the kind of system we live in. The system is not disability friendly at all.
Okay, so for you, what will be the way forward, briefly?
I think the way forward is still doing the advocacy and allowing parents themselves to do the advocacy. Because sometimes it's not just about getting the help, but you understanding it and you speaking out. Mothers are doing exceptionally well because they are now beginning to understand. They are talking about it. There should be an open conversation.
You have a fantastic father here as well.
You see, I met him. He's part of our parents and support. Anytime we have, program, you see him, and he started mobilizing fathers to be part of the conversation. Okay. Because our fathers are running away from us. For which reason, I don't know. I think we should start jailing them instead of doing paternity tests. We should start jailing them if you refuse to take care of your child with special needs.
All right.
So the advocacy, making them to be part of the conversation. We need to talk about it. We need to encourage ourselves. When I saw my daughter writing the BC, see me, 1 whole week I didn't go to work. I was just there and she was like, Mommy, go back. She was so happy. And this year, we were able to manage for 80 students in the greater Accra region to write BC. And we set up breakfast centers in the various health schools just to motivate them that they are writing BC. I think those things can also help.
Okay, so we'll just take the final words from each and every one of you, starting with you, Deborah. What should be done to come to your aid when it comes to dealing with issues like this one? Facheme, Dena Osha, Yebetsumiaye. Yebe Ofao Emwa here in a situation like this one.
Me ma make us say maka assembly me de me buy ko baby e mere bi on so for bi o say me ton kan dre ba ko 7 ana me toy ana me de koy wa so ka dre 7 no na omo ade shakola ne nsa wa say spirit be a husband wo bu akwala na na jona o say me ja na ma no na me nkofie na me say me ja no Wobu akwala na se obu no na honhom na afinimu. Wobu na my sister. Me should that this day. Ebone be na bofra kiti onu onimu hwe nso de no aye. Obu no na misuye na me che me ba ne fe ni se ma na dwo be 1. Na me de akwala na kofie. Emu adie. Madam, ehia bi ankasa. Ehia bi. Because me and Meti Asisia, me high will be dying. As a mature daika. Say, na mabo friend to me, come baby, I met fee. Could you imagine? May I then a mature daika? Me remember those time I made dancing castle. Papa no confre comfort, mammy comfort. Me da, I'm watching what me get ano. Oji dino. Me father man, I may me yamagua bonti. Ghana. Ya kita autism kola ya lefoi. Ya brian kasa.
Matthias here.
Ya hia mwa.
Matthias here. Okay, medase. Amina, now swear.
Acho me susa. Me ya mo beza me tonju esinto. We wa wusisi ano. Me nko bebia. Akola no ontumi hwe no. Even though ni kokokura ohunu ya. Akola no so ya premature. Mia na miye ni bibia. Tisa mi jai na mi kochi ya bidibidia ebesi wechire. E woni duane ma ne droma ne bana wa wono foforo sisi am. Ti ehia moa. Moa no so aye ehia no ehia na antisase anso. Ono so nya moa ni bi no fa moa nkola ne maye. Sansa oba ya brabo eburu ye wo se nkola no. Omudi dem kro omutumi ye bibi. So akwala no to na mani ehu oni pa de se bi fa se ka twa na so we se on te na so ye dey be fa ma de ko hospital nti ye hia mo apa ye hia kura enko antisase a on fa mo ankwala na aka no so oba ya bra bom no me nana no wa peja wa ye
better. Okay. Okay, yeah, that's it. Noah, what about you? What will be your final words?
Thank you very much. I thank Auntie Mavis for the wonderful work she has been doing for us. My son there, I've taken him to about 15 shrines. Yes, just to almost out of desperation. Because it came to a time that I wanted to kill myself and leave him so that I would just go because the pressure is too much. Because now if you take him out from the house and bring him back to the house, you have to take an Uber or drop in, at least in and out 500 Ghana cedis. Yes, in and out 500 Ghana cedis. My only source of happiness is whenever I see him and he smiles back at me. And I started crying, he smiles. I started crying, he smiles. Then I stopped crying. If I should have had a little money on me at the early stage, like I think he should have walked by now. All I want for my son is to walk so that I can also take him to school and also concentrate on my work and my future. So my appeal right now is medically. I think if my son will be attended to medically, he can walk or speak. Yes, and there's some devices he can walk or speak. And then education-wise, at the age of 8 years, he's still at home.
He can still go to school.
Yes, but the reason why I've not taken him to school is that every 2 weeks, I spend 8,000, 7,000 to 8,000. Toiletries, his feeding alone, Ghana cedis. And my salary is just 3,500. So at the end of the month, I go in for loan, soft loan, to attach to my salary to feed him. And it's even driving me crazy. I've been out of the world for some years now. I'm just managing myself. Sitting here, it's not me because I'm going through a lot. Yeah, so that's the only help I need, medically and taking him to school.
You want to get assistive devices?
Yes,
okay.
And even taking him to school.
All right. Thank you very much. Olivia.
Oh, the Canada anti-Mavis Rock Foundation. I don't know Mamba Habi. The balance with the audience, I can't be a woman cry. And the bed job, I can't cast our canimu. It's the end of the pass. Memebano, or school, with nature school more than 5. May share teachers need behavior, no my brain, and I'm a you know. Men Tramongan say you back. But school no one, on any new Akatuana, one, and new Akatuana, or bro, or back washroom be at so didn't cheap. A back washroom be at so didn't cheap. Was my bro, Monsieur Yaminti, I should be Chawati. Now I made them in chin, shrine be and call baby because our panny didn't soon, papa. Our panny didn't soon. Every year be and we abandon the birthday be a changes back. When you're or in Ataria 6 years, Obenya 7 years, no, or every month, Nimunana, or Jay. Until every year be an on Yamiadrum, hospital, the Kobiache, but Papa didn't Sana Mercano, changes the banner brabum de Bia, changes the Kobe Bia and Kobisage. By me, Yam was say, school no con, sometimes was around a pa. I say, ma, school, Missing, I say, uncle. Sometimes we say man on Philly school no because on non special school. I call normal school. Sometimes you to me say omo boni kakra. I have sometimes so into sorana pa on Philly. Into no me imagine say me call MC medical counter assistant for 6 months. Ya me adom makwewie. Ti person ka me am bi me chemical shop. Na me ntina no say na be ya me extra time ama me ba no. Because me ba na ade na ne dwum pa ya car. Ti say me ti me shop no no anya ne car. Minuaton. Sana be a week, no Monday up to Friday in school, no 3 days, and 2 days, me and my family with you. Simpamucho shop, no Makoju Swavi, Taka and dry, me the begumu, and I said I may say shop. Simimbo, I don't know, Madam Wasi.
Please, let's appreciate each and every one of them. I've been talking to Mavis Asantwa Opoku. She is the public health mental health officer at the ACCRA Psychiatric Hospital and also the executive director of the Rob Foundation. I've also been talking to Amina Soa. She has a child and a grandchild with autism. Noah Elom Date has a child with autism and cerebral palsy. And Deborah Japasu, also a child with autism. And finally, Olivia Akeleye also has a child with autism. But I think that a lot of you may be curious about some of these conditions. And so the floor is open for questions. If you have any question, you kindly walk to the microphones situated in between us, and then you can ask your questions to any of them. We can do that in the next 5 minutes, so we move on to the next panel. If anybody has a question, kindly move on to the... You do. Please come forward.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Please check if it's on.
All right, so I can talk. In fact, listening to the accounts of this wonderful, strong woman sitting
That's
there,
Olivia.
yes, from the beginning, you could hear accounts that a lady, a midwife or a nurse, treating her in a way. So I'm pushed to ask this question. Can the negligence of a nurse or a midwife attending to a pregnant woman during childbirth result in a mental health condition in a child?
Okay. I think that goes to Mavis. Is that a possibility?
Yes.
The negligence of a nurse or a midwife at
Yes,
a
a
pregnancy?
negligence can actually do that. Because all what we are talking about, these are not genetic conditions. Even though you can trace some kind of genes can actually end up to a child. But this is deprivation of oxygen to the brain. And in God's own wisdom, a moment they tell you, push, the oxygen supply to the brain of the child ceases so that the child comes out for the oxygen outside. If the child lays in there without coming out, for that particular duration, oxygen to the brain ceases. And when it ceases, it causes a lot of damage to the brain. Because don't forget that the child brain is not all formed before it comes out. So as it comes out, it comes to continue with development. So oxygen and blood supply is what actually keeps the brain functioning. So when there is a cessation in this supply, it can actually damage the brain. So whether it was as a result, so negligence, or when labor starts in, you start feeling contraction. The moment you start pushing, oxygen supply cuts off. So if the nurse or the midwife, in fact, let's put it negligence, let's put it that way, that can actually cause a child to have a mental.
All right, thank you. Anybody else with a question for... Please walk to the microphone.
Hello. Please, let me talk. Please, like our mommy said, mine is negligent. When I gave birth to my son, he was okay. He only had hernia. We saw it like 3 months' time. So he was okay. Nothing was wrong. So when he was the hernia, we started going to hospital for maybe a surgery. So normally we talk to friends and they were like, oh, Osa, into maybe munchain the surgery. So he was 1 year, 8 months. I was working. I had a shop. I sell food, Nigerian food. I was 27 then. So 1 year, 8 months, I was busy because of my work. So I was like, okay, then let me go for the hernia because it was big. So let me go for the hernia so that he can, when he's just 2 years old, he can go to school. Then I'll just focus on my work. I regret every day. So we went Koforidia Central Hospital. So we did all the assessments. They gave us the day to come for the surgery. I will never forget.
Are you good to go? Yes. Okay.
My son went to the surgery room. We were waiting for my son. We waited and waited and waited. When they came to call us, my son has been on coma
He was on coma for 5 days or 6 days. So the doctors came and called us that when they were doing the surgery, something went wrong, and maybe when he wakes up, he will not be like the way he was before. This is the exact words they told us.
So this was clearly the fault of the medical professionals there.
My son was fine. My son was walking, he was talking. It was only hernia we went to do. After the surgery, so the third day they told us he was on coma. It was prayers and prayers before he woke up. When he woke up, he was blind. Everything is off. We were at the hospital for some 2 or 3 weeks. They were not telling, they never told us anything again. The treatment was very bad. When they even come to assess, they don't even mind us again. But we were paying whatever we need to pay. So I told them that we needed a transfer to Kwalebu. So they wrote whatever they want to write, and they transferred us to Kwalebu. That was it. We went to Kwalebu for some 3 weeks or so. They did whatever they had to do. We spent money. They couldn't tell us anything. The only thing they told us was what the doctor said there is true. At then, still he wasn't talking, he wasn't doing anything. So when we came to the house, we started going herba. And that's nyame beye, we started going to herba. But thank God for the herba. If not for the herba, I think my son couldn't have been like this, because at that time it became bad, very, very bad. The way he got blind. But with prayers, 8 months' time, I went to the hospital again. When they saw me in Ghana here.
Mavis, is there a way she can demand for compensation?
To be sincere, later on, I fought, and they gave me
25,000?
Yes.
That was a compensation?
Yes. And what is, like, I knew what I wanted to do, but I went to radio stations. I looked for lawyers. Nobody would help me. Sometimes I even went on TikTok. Sometimes when they see your video, they think you are looking for money. When they call me, I'm like, I don't need money. I need help for my son. Because, so now I don't understand why, like, my son was healthy, and it wasn't like maybe the hernia was seriously, that is why we went to the surgery or something. We did everything that we need to do. So if something is wrong and you tell me that maybe it can be like malaria, that is why it happens like that. So now I don't get it. Anytime I find a doctor, I ask them, because anytime they will be like, maybe is the anesthesia can be like that, or maybe in the surgery room, unfortunately, a mistake can be. But there are also sometimes when I ask some of the doctors, they will be like, for a surgery, for a hernia surgery, it's not a big surgery for something like this to happen. So every day, since then, I've never been myself again. Anytime I ask myself, if I knew, I couldn't have done it. Now I'm at home. I've become like a beggar. Someone who is working, I had like 5 workers that I paid them. Now I'm at home. Even if you sell food with this guy, nobody is going to buy. They will not buy. I started something at home. Like maybe for that one, it's just a normal thing that someone can buy. They started buying small. Later on, they stopped. So now, even me starting something again, I'm scared. I don't know whether they will buy or not. It's
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for sharing that painful experience. And we are very sorry that you've had to go through that. Hopefully, at the end of the forum, we'll be able to find ways to assist you one way or the other. My lady, you had a question? Please walk to before you do. She comes in.
Please, my name is Delorence, and I wanted to ask Madam Amina about her daughter's situation. She said her daughter has autism, and then she got pregnant and had another child. I want to know how the process was, the situation was, having a daughter who has autism and being pregnant, and how she also managed through that process.
Okay, thank you, Dolores. Obisa sɛ ɔwɔ ba ne nana a ɔmowɔ autism, ɔba ne fa ne nyinsɛn, wasan so awɔ biom bonitiawa sɛ na ɛyɛ ma wo.
Ne nyinsɛn no mu, ɔno ɔnyem first no, ɔnyem abayewa no, problem bi amba o, sɛ ɔkɔwo no. Man problem bi amba, sɛ ɔkɔwo no ma ne ba no enyi mu na yehu different. By me ba pedi di die, me ba no, ono me wo no ɔyare yɛ pa. Sister, ɔte ado de ebedu ha. Bi kyerɛ me duro na me de no kɔɛ. Na ɔna ne normal sɛdeɛ ɔnante no. Ɛno ano no. Me tabo ɔyare yɛ so yɛ kɔ hospital. Na me kita me dwetire pa. Me du ɔno na me sika nyinaa yera. Yɛ hwɛ ne wie a meba. Papa bi hyia me ɔse ante wo hwɛ o sika no unwo. Wo sika no na yɛ wo ba no. Unhu sika no nti wo ba no wodo fie a ɔsa yaresa de ba sɛ de obenya no bia no fa ne saa na fa obi bia manyame wo ba no changes bebe mu sisie bebe mu so ampa so nyɛ no me wono saa ɛno na obi anyi sɛ no ɛnyɛ ɔno a keto ano nso ne no ano so nyɛ ɔno a so bi go so hwɛ
Okay.
na nyame ma me nya anti-Sasia Care Foundation.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Swama, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. You know, because of time, we may not be able to take every other question, but they'll be here from now till the program ends. And so you can go to them and then ask your question. So please, unfortunately, I'm not able to take your question, but after the program, you can just go and speak to them. But thank you very much. I've been talking to these wonderful women and gentlemen. They've been telling me about the ordeal having to live with children and even grandchildren dealing with autism and cerebral palsy for Mr. Noah. Please, let's appreciate them. But if you paid attention to their speech, one thing was very clear. They are all asking for support. And I see a lot of millionaires here. So, you know, at the back, there's a table. You can just go there and make your donations. And if you want to do that digitally, you can also do that. You can donate using the short code *415 *3089#. I'll go over again, *415 *3089#. Every money is collected will be given to them to help them deal with their ordeal. And also, if you don't have mobile money or you want to make it physical, you can please just go to the back there and make that donation in cash. You know, you can also donate at the website at www.mentalhealthforum.gh. I'll go over again, www.mentalhealthforumgh.com. That's the website, www.mentalhealthforumgh.com. There's also the Momo number at the back there. So once you get there, you can donate. I see so many millionaires here. Okay, in a bit, I'll be giving the Momo number, so I'll just make that announcement as well. But please, as they take their seats, kindly appreciate them for us. This is the Mental Health Forum 2026. This is the second edition, and we've been here since morning trying to eliminate stigma associated with mental health diseases. So we are not doing this alone. We are fortunate to have sponsors such as ILI, Pinocchio, KGL Foundation, Lay Pavilion, Gourmet Gardens, and we are partnered by Premier Mind and Wellness, the premier clinic for mental health diseases, Premier Aesthetic Clinic, the Ministry of Health, the Diaspora Affairs, that's the Office of the President, also Bell Lacqua, Chocolate Sarai, the Ghana Psychological Council, and the Multimedia Group, that is Joy News and Joy FM, and its related affiliates, across the country. Okay, there's a lady, you want to ask a question? We'll take that briefly and then invite the second panel.
So hello to everyone. My question is to the stakeholders. Today we are looking at autism and ADHD, but I want to divert a little bit. I'm talking about dyslexia. I think they are all different types of disability. The problem I have is I'm a teacher, and then I feel like the system, the educational system, looking at the BEC, doesn't take into account the different abilities of students, in the sense that if a child is dyslexic, that is not really neurological, but it is a learning disability, which is also based on the way your brain is wired. So we have dyslexic, we have dyscalculia, we have dysgraphia. It's different ways that they struggle. But here is the case. This child with dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia is writing BEC on 10 subjects with a child who is high brains or moderate brains. And so at the end of the day, if that child is able to show ability in certain subjects, it is not considered. The child could be good with computing, the child could be good with arts, the child could be good with technical, I know they have different technical, creative skills and all those. The child could be good with these things, but maybe might be struggling with maths, might be struggling, because dyslexic, you know, when they read, they forget. When they're writing B, they write it in D. It's a whole lot. And you know, even with the dyslexia, there are stages. We have the moderate, we have the high ability, moderate, high, and severe. And then the child ends up writing BEC with everybody. The system is not taking in consideration these things, and so they are denied of any opportunity that can help them build a career.
Okay.
And it's very serious, because I have a dyslexic son, and he is very artistic with drawing and I think computing. But the other subjects, he has a facilitator, he has all the assistants. I became a teacher because of him. But I asked myself, how is he going to write all the 10 subjects?
Okay. In a bit, we'll find out, because I have my next panel coming up shortly, and we're discussing from awareness to action, improving autism supports, education, and mental health care in Ghana. Okay. I understand our convener would like to answer that question, but before she does, let's just welcome on stage our next set of panel. And here we have Stella Amwako. She's a developmental intervention specialist and CEO for SkyTrain Therapy. Stella. Also joining us on stage is Ida Aloti. She's a special educator, ADHD, and autism. The third person would be Boachewa Glover. She's a mental health advocate. And lastly, Grant Abeko Baden Bio. He's the head of programs, Autism Awareness Care and Training Center. Please join us on stage for the second panel discussion. Okay, so whilst they join us, can we just pass the microphone to Jahara so that she gives an answer to the question that was asked? Can we get the microphone to Jahara, please?
All right. I just wanted to take a minute to answer her question about dyslexia children studying school. So we're working with the Ministry of Education. And as we know, the Mental Health Authority and Ministry of Health we're working with educators to bridge the gap between mental health, neurodivergence, and education. As she mentioned, children with autism have a different brain pattern than neurotypicals. So the school system needs to include special timing. When you're writing an exam, a child with autism or ADHD may need an extra half an hour to finish the exams. Our studying system, children with autism study better with their hands. They do more with arts and creative. So we're working with Ministry of Education, Ghana Library Authority to set up workshops to educate teachers, parents, and any family, if you have any child with autism, learning disability, to engage in how we're going to make policy changes to include, and not just to include, but to include families in there to integrate that into our system. So children with autism don't need to be sent to special schools. They need to be in regular schools. But inside the schools, we need to have teachers that are trained on children with special needs and learning disabilities so that they can be in the classrooms as teaching assistants to create that environment for the children to be accepted, and also to guide the teachers themselves as to how to manage children with learning disability, autism, ADHD. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's Jahara Osman. She's a convener of the Mental Health Forum. In fact, we need to take another person to join us on stage, and that's Susanna Simpson to join us for a conversation. She's a marketing lead and HR professional in employee relations at Nature's Spouts Academy. Welcome, ladies. Now, Ida, because we left off on an education note, I'd like to come to you. Has the system, educational system, been accommodative enough when it comes to being diverse for every child, irrespective of whatever medical condition that you have?
So I would like to spot my woman. Yes, there she is. Hello. So my name is Ida Lute Brown. I work with Mission Pediatrics. And yes, although it's a neurodevelopmental facility, I work mainly with parents, educators, and a whole lot. And that's the reason why I would love to add just something small to your concern, help you understand something. So currently, there are several policies, as we all know. And yes, there are what we call accommodations to support all neurodivergent people. And just as you know, with the varying ranges comes varying privileges that one would need. Someone might just need a bit of extra time. Another person would need a prompter. Another person may need a scribe. And another person may even need rest breaks. And these are all provisions that are available. Currently, here in Ghana, I know for a fact that these privileges are given. They are given to our learners who are neurodivergent. But to be able to access any privilege or any accommodation, then you need to go through that process. And the process usually starts with you undergoing an assessment, getting your report, making sure that you send that report to the schools in which your child is. And please, an experience I've had this year is that some of our parents sent their reports, but some did not follow up. You know, we have resource persons or the special needs educators who are the ones under government. They are resource persons for specific communities, or they are called special needs coordinators. When your report goes to school, it needs to also be moved to them. And then in whichever jurisdiction they find themselves, they forward it to the original, but that is after they have filled a number of forms. They have completed certain things. They have added up the fact that your child needs probably 30 minutes extra time, or an hour extra time, or probably needs a prompter, or all the varying things that the report would have said that this particular child would need. So they put those things there, they fill their forms, and then they also forward it. So it goes through a process. And that is where we need to ensure that it is happening. Remember when, I don't know whether you were here, when Mavis was sharing her experience of her daughter who got her accommodation. She got the accommodation because it was requested for. She was assessed, first of all. The report was sent to school. They followed up on it. Unfortunately, our system isn't smooth sailing, where we tend to just request and then that is it. Because in some other foreign curricular schools that I have worked with, they just come for the reports. We do assessments, they give them the reports. The schools get it. And online, they just input things and it's a sent. We don't have that. We need to follow through that process. So please, the accommodations, they are plenty and they are all available for us.
Thank you. Now to my question, I wanted to find out how accommodating our educational systems are for people with diverse medical conditions.
So in talking of accommodations, I think I explained it earlier, or I didn't. Did I? I didn't. Then I'm not going to explain what accommodation is. In giving support or in getting the children to have those breaks, those extra time, those other things that they need, I have earlier explained that it goes through a process. So let's say I am in a school. It doesn't, and one thing I must say is that in Ghana, it doesn't matter whether you are in a private school under GES. I'm talking about GES here. So it doesn't matter whether you are in a private GES school or a public GES school. Whichever one you fall under, you are still under GES. So with either GES schools in whichever area, you just move on to go for that support that the person needs. But one thing I must say is that sometimes our parents, we tend to see that a child needs help, education-wise. For learning disabilities, yes, you don't get to see them. It's not written on a child's face. Neither is it clearly visible that this child has this or this child has that. And that's the reason why we have something that we call the hidden disabilities. And for hidden disabilities, it cuts across whether the child is on the spectrum, whether the child has ADHD, whichever condition the child has, those ones are the hidden ones. And that is totally different from the physical ones that we tend to see that, oh, this child has probably a hearing impairment or has a visual impairment or has this or has that. When you notice that a child has a hidden disability or the teachers in schools start complaining that, I think, madam, your child or daddy, your child is not studying the way we want or we think the child is supposed to study. That should be your first point of call. That should be your red flag. Aside that, also look at how is the child behaving? How is the child conditioning him or herself? How is the child interacting with people? These are things that we also need to be concerned about. Educators would always be prompting because they have a scheme of work they are supposed to make sure that they achieve. They also have things that they have as rubrics to guide them. And when they prompt you as a parent that the child has a need, quickly move on from there, go the step further, seek for that support for the child. And in seeking for that support for the child, that is where you would get to be assessed. You get to have a report. You would get to have recommendations in that report. And those recommendations are what will tell someone that, oh, so this child would probably need, because the child is unable to sit down, because the child is unable to stay focused in class like the other regular education kids, I think this child would benefit from getting some rest breaks. Yes, it is allowed. Even in school, with a report binding that child, the child gets to have all that support. If the child is unable to read, and one thing I must add is that it doesn't necessarily mean that the fact that, oh, I'm running around all along, I am not able to sit like my friends, I am this. It means that is my only thing. Just as someone may have BP, may have diabetes, may have all other conditions. The same way a child who has a neurodevelopmental condition can have multiples of it. So the child, that is when it is said to be a comorbidity. So with that comorbidity, the child can have other varying conditions. So the child is assessed. You get to know that, okay, so these are the things that the child is currently struggling with, or this condition is what the child has. What next? How do we support that child? That is where the recommendations are there for the educators, for even the parents, because we want you to know what you can do even at home. So it is not just a school's responsibility. It is not just a parent's responsibility. It is an all-round something that each and everyone tries to put in something to help.
Thank you very much. I'll come to Stella Mwako now, because she said, please take the mic from her. She talks about the fact that it's an all-round solution. We need to be collaborative enough to, put this stigma, especially to an end. And so how then do you come in?
Hi everyone, my name is Stella from Skyrain, and I want to thank the organization for this opportunity. And I want to thank the parents who are brave enough to sit and talk about their condition of their child. You see, the first thing for a parent to be able to help their child is acceptance, being able to accept that my child needs help, and they have done that. And then the second step is being open about it and not worried about what people's gonna say about you, and being confident enough to talk about it and get that help. It takes a lot of energy, and I thank the parents for speaking up. And as my sister was speaking, a lot of things was crossing through my mind as she was talking. So I'm gonna break it down so the English doesn't sound so foreign, so we all have understanding. So about 18 months to 2 years old, that's on Timin Kasa, notify your doctor. Say, Omao eye contact, notify your doctor. Say, or you're selective with food, notify your doctor. Say, oka se men koha, or se hona mi free bay, notify your doctor.
So that's not a normal thing?
No. If your son or your child is tippy-toeing, notify your doctor. You see, at the 18 months, your child should at least have 10 words. And it's a kasanema. Mostly parents wait till their child. The reason why I'm speaking Chi and I'm mixing it up because I've been in Ghana since October. And I want us to understand that autism and ADHD is differences. Right? The difficult part of it is having parents to come to the terms that nebano yarifo. They use that language and it's hurtful and people don't want to come up, right? And you have a hard time understanding why people are not getting diagnosed late. It's because of the language, right? And I want to say this for sure. Obi abanya yarifo. It's a matter of differences. And the differences shows in different levels. You have a level 1, level 2, and level 3. In America, being a therapist, we don't deal with levels anymore because children evolve so much. And if you put in the work as these parents has put in the work, you see the results. So we don't want to be all English, but we want to bring it down. And I've given example. If they stimming, their hands is in your face, see your doctor. If they're flapping, they're very selective. Yes, we understand that when the children is really involved in watching TV and watching YouTube, they're not gonna hear you. But you need to understand if it is continuously, then you need to seek help. You don't need a diagnosis to seek help. 18 months, 2 years old. Don't wait till that child is 3, school age. If they're having a hard time socializing with other children, you need to seek help. Sakwala no diwachi too much. Seek the help.
So these are very basic things that we tend to ignore.
Yes, don't ignore. And it's okay because most of us never had a child on the spectrum. HDAD, I want to bring that up. Akwala no kasansu so obeshudesi pharmacy. No fear.
And then you say, oh, no, don't do that. Get help. Be realistic, acknowledge it. Before I give the mic to the next person. Another way of healing autism or reversing autism is through food. You have to be intentional. You don't need a doctor. Once you get the diagnosis, right? That's what my sister was saying. Once you get the diagnosis, and they don't talk about it a lot. You ourselves is somewhere Gianna completely. And somebody will say, Stella, how does changing my food looks like? Young call back the way now you did our Ghana. You know, I'm so like overwhelmed with working with snacks, being juice and cookies. And everybody's so affluent now that we eat KFC and Burger King and pizza and processed food. And I'm not attacking anybody. But if you want healing, even for neurotypical children, if you want your child to be able to sit still and focus and being engaged and listen to what's going on, it has to start from your home. And if you want your child to compete at a level where they need to compete with everybody, then the teacher starts with a parent. So then what I would say is, if you have a child on the spectrum, so now I've given you a little bit about symptoms, things to look for, right? They're not talking, they're tippy-toeing, they're not responding to their name, they're not saying mama or dada. You know, when you do any to form me, may or no be a diagram or attend home. Wow, your opinion, obey or not, obey than no one now, no covenant, who didn't see her pet, no corner, seek the help. Even if you know, Bible says that prayers without works is dead. I'm speaking to a parent. And to say, oh, GDS or Bano crashing, yeah, just seek the help. So now let's move on. You have accepted, say he's autistic. You accepted also, or ADHD. If you come to Sky Rain, the first thing I'll tell you, change the food. Change the food. Change the juice.
Food is the basic step.
And then let me even bring it down, okay? You say, Stella, but my mommy bunny juice, my money soda, change your mono. Ben Kukra no said too much carbs, no. Say he take a child on a spectrum, a sister might said yeah, obi a one when they are not drunk, they're very, very settled and calm. But on sakana no, papa we do you on sakana no. When sugar hit the system of your child, you see all the symptoms. And then I want to move on. Then I'll give back the mic to the next person. I want to empower parents. You see all the positive encouragement that you have heard is because it's a parent who never gave up. It's work. And if you're not ready to put in the work, and me personally as a therapist, you can't come to me if you're not ready to put in the work, if you're not ready to change the food, if you're not ready to get the knowledge that even though my child is on the spectrum, I already shared that it's just differences in the brain. Every child can be taught to use the bathroom. Please do not enable behaviors. When you take charge of the food and you believe in your child, you have started the therapy session. Then you come in with the therapist. Then that's when we come in and we show you the way. Then the teachers come in and then the educators. And all the things that are supposed to be implemented for a child to be successful will take place. So I'm going to give you the mic, but I want to summarize one more thing. One, so who so bad to pito no ye near ma, it keeps you up at night. Me pacho no Dr. Nkasa. So unya diagnose into so assistant with Gianino, man contumre here, my coins to say here, my body here. Because the funny thing with the spectrum, no, the older they get, the stronger the disability becomes visible. And you want to control the diet. Inti osana ude unim she me bed na ni so ahye inti ma menya na mo ma na me ma no body no ana say mo no kra ma me ma ni local rice na me ma kontomre stew ni noso na me ma ampesie no me ma veggies no en noso o ya sa de no unhia therapist and so share na beba form. Then the next thing you want to do is get therapy. Acknowledge it. Get therapy. Get help. And all of that we come in.
Okay, thank you very much. That was really insightful. So I'll just bring in Boachiwa Glover. She is a mental health advocate. Boachiwa, when it comes to awareness, how have we fared as a country?
Thank you very much. Before I maybe get straight into how have we fared with awareness, I want to give context as to my place here. I'm an advocate from a lived experience perspective and not necessarily as a clinician or anything of the sort. And I've gotten my son's permission, he'll be 13 next month, to reference him. Use the word reference. I can reference my son. So my son has ADHD, he's on the spectrum, and he also has cough variant asthma. So we're dealing with multiple things. And I myself also, I'm a person with disability, as they call it. I also have a seizure disorder. So that's why I'm trying not to look too much at the lights, because mine is a photosensitive seizure disorder, so I'm trying to face you more. And I also have other conditions. I have an autoimmune condition and other mental illnesses. So I come from the angle of I'm a parent with my own challenges, parenting a child with his special needs as well. Now, in terms of your question, there are maybe 4 or 5 areas I really want to touch on, and the initial 2 speakers have touched on a couple of them. But with parents, I noticed my son's behaviors from when he was 5. So his first therapy was 5 years old. And a lot of parents wait for a long time because they want to avoid labels or categorization or stigma. But a delay does not remove the condition. It simply delays support. So even if you wait 5 years, 10 years, it's not going to change the condition. So the early you notice some of the symptoms, as has been said, he can't sit still. He does things a certain way. It is best to go and take him to therapy. So we are probably on our 4th psychiatrist or clinic that we go to. But I think it's very important as parents, it is okay. Don't feel too bad about it. Don't be too concerned about what people will think. Your focus should be on the child. It's not about society. It's not about those who are outside. And you need to go and get help. But before parents can do that, they need to recognize the symptoms. That is where awareness really, really needs to come from. I knew it because I'm an organizational psychologist. I did my first degree in psychology. My dad had a mental illness, so that sort of thing was something I was very familiar with. People around me, my family kept saying, oh, he's just a boy, it's just normal. But we need to move beyond those words like, it's just normal, that's how boys are, and really go and get an assessment. Go and get the child checked out. And there might be nothing, but it is better to get them checked out than not. Then the second awareness gap we have really is with the schools. The schools is a big, big lever that is, I think is not being really handled well. And I've heard what you said regarding GS. My son was in a GS school, and I moved him from GS to a private Cambridge school, thinking that because it's Cambridge, it's UK, it would be better. For 6 years, I kept pushing for them to put him on the special needs list so that when it comes to exams, he gets the extra time, he gets the things that suit his condition in order to take the exams, because academics was really difficult. And they did not for 6 years. I had Dr. Mabel from Mission Pediatrics talk to the headmistress, and the headmistress said, because she has not observed it herself, she wouldn't. But every time I would go for a PTA, the teachers were telling me he can't sit still, he can't focus, they keep putting him at the back, it's this, it's that.
But the head teacher has still not seen all of that, so she wouldn't believe it.
She hasn't seen it for herself.
Interesting.
And I said, your teachers tell me every single year. And then I put her on a conference call with Dr. Marilyn from Mission Pediatrics, as well as Dr. Erica Dixon from 37. She first diagnosed him. 2 doctors on a call with this headmistress, and she still said, unless she has observed it. So you're hearing from the parent, you're hearing from 2 doctors. I gave her all the reports the doctors had done on my son, and she still wouldn't put him on the special list for exams because she felt that, oh, she's observed him, he's fine, what are we really talking about? And even the doctors were like, wow, the headmistress is quite combative. It took a change in administration who had dealt with ADHD before, and for the first time when he was 12 and writing a critical exam before he was put on the special list by Cambridge. So with Cambridge, you have to apply. and then you send them whatever information you send them, then they put him on for him to get the extra time. So the awareness for schools, I think, is truly lacking. With the GS school that he started at, it was worse. They would not accept it, they would not listen. So I thought taking him to a smaller school, smaller class would be better. But he's now in secondary year 1, year 7, and we're now getting a bit of support. The third area, which I feel like we also need to work on more when it comes to awareness, is family and community. A lot of family members can deter parents from getting help. A lot of family members can be the stumbling blocks, need to put their parents together on a platform and support them beyond the consultation they go to. So that outside of that, I'm the type that I want to be able to text and ask questions. So you need the healthcare facilities to do more of that awareness, not just once a year forums, but if it's a WhatsApp group, I mean, that Mission Pediatrics group, they are posting content all the time, which is extremely, extremely helpful. And then the last group that needs to be targeted for awareness is the children themselves. I have been telling my son since he was 5 what he has. We have a very, very open conversation at home. It's not something between me and his doctor. He's aware. Again, the doctors explain to him. I explain to him. We call ourselves the acronym family. I have a podcast. He and I filmed an episode that we haven't aired yet, but it was him talking about his ADHD and me talking about my stuff. And I said, oh, I'm going for an ADHD forum. Would you like to come? And he chose to come so that he can also listen and learn. So we need to have more of the children themselves learning. So it's not just targeting the parents, not just targeting the schools, targeting doctors, but it's also targeting the kids themselves who have been diagnosed. So helping them form a community of their own and to know that they are special. I interviewed Jahara, and she has a way of saying that it's a superpower. And I remember saying to Jahara during the interview that I want my son to hear you say it's a superpower, because he needs to hear from people who have ADHD, who are older, who are thriving. So we need to show, yes, so we need to show the kids the possibilities. We need to help them love themselves. We need to help them accept themselves. So we should not leave the children out of the awareness conversation. I think we target the adults, we target the professionals, but we need to target the people who are going through it themselves and hear from them directly. So those to be the 4 or 5 areas I feel like with awareness we need to do more work on the parents, on the schools, oh my God, on the healthcare facilities. We need more of the community-based, whether it's WhatsApp platform, and targeting families and support groups. Your circle is your everything, as well as targeting the children themselves. That is where I think some direction and some focus and some attention needs to go.
Okay, and thank you very much. But I want to find out what Susanna makes of this, because she's in the corporate space. What role do you think that industries can play also in accommodating people diagnosed with various types of mental health illnesses?
Okay, thank you for your question. Hello, everyone. So I work with Nature Sprout Academy. It is a neurodiversity center, and it means we have children that have ADHD, that have autism, that have dyslexia, etc. Typically, you would say our center, because of the services we provide, has a certain clientele. And most people may not be able to afford the service that we provide here. And so we set up a foundation, which is the Nature Sprout Foundation, that serves as a vehicle for us to go out into the public, do a lot of awareness campaigns. We go to schools, we go to churches, we go to mosques, we go to hospitals. And the key thing for moving from awareness to action is education. People do not know. Full disclosure, I am a parent of an autistic child. In fact, I have 2. I have a set of twins and both of them are autistic. All right. And before I came to the knowledge of that, I was in corporate. And I had to leave corporate, spend time with my children, know something is missing. There's a delay. Something is not right. And the awareness starts from all of us in this room educating ourselves. Once you want to have a child, it is not a guaranteed process. You have to learn. What are you? It's not just about lying down, having the sex, and bringing the child into the world. What is the process of having that child healthy? If the child is not healthy, what are the signs of various things that can happen? It's not as if you are preparing for the worst, you're being informed. And my children were my first set of children, so I didn't know about developmental milestones, which is critical. And many of us have mentioned about that. At age 1, what should the child be? If not you, a family member, a friend, a colleague. And let's stop acting as though we are advisors. You don't have the competencies to tell somebody, oh, Yanshe, Ebeye Yana, oh, Nkoladiesta. You are not a professional. Just like during football matches, we say we have, 32 million coaches in Ghana. We can't play the same role with the lives of children. If you are not a professional, do not give professional advice. You are delaying the support the children will get. So please, before you leave here, if your auntie says, oh, Mebano say, or your niece says this, don't give professional advice. Tell them to go to the hospital. And even at the hospitals, if you are a doctor or you're a medical person that is not trained in this field, refer the person to somebody who has the knowledge. Because not all doctors are specialized or have the knowledge. Not all nurses know. Ideally, there should be a basic threshold, I think, in the medical community that they should be informed of. But at least refer the person to somebody who can assist with credible information, because what we see in our work is the delay is very detrimental. Between 1 and 5 are critical years of the child. If we get children in this space, we are able to do so much with them. We have children that come to our center that do not talk, and in less than 2 years, they've developed language in terms of speech. And again, it's holistic. That is why we are here, and we wanted to be part of the mental health forum. It is not, you can't attack this one way. It's a holistic take. From therapies, yes, but from nutrition, from food, from the gut health. Going through gut health protocols, which we do at our center. And you have to take charge as a parent. Nobody will do the work for you. No therapist, no teacher, no health professional, no pastor. You have to own the diagnosis. Okay. It's difficult. It takes a while to get to acceptance. But it's possible through counseling, through your own desire for that child. Accept it and run with it. You have to be your child's biggest advocate. When you're in a room and people are dismissing what you are saying, you put your foot down and say, no, this is what I know, this is what the report says, this is what I need, and keep at it. Assessments are not cheap. They are not. And that is another problem, right? So even if you are aware, awareness is not just known information. You need to prove what you're saying. That's where the assessment comes, because then the schools will work with the assessment. When you're moving around, the health professional need to work with those assessments. So we need to have more people providing assessments, more trained pediatricians, psychologists, sociologists that can give assessments. We need people to come into this field. At the center, we train people to become shadow teachers. We train schools. So if you're a school owner or your child goes to a school and they don't want to listen to the issue you're having with your child, you can come to us. The school can come. We can train them. We can train their teachers. We can train the administration so they can spot these things in their class, report, escalate, and then something can be done. And again, our language is important. Let's not encourage the stigma. Don't shun away. Somebody is saying that she's a mom and she cooks and nobody will buy from her. And everybody say, oh. But most of you will do that in this room. Most of you will do that. Most of you will call somebody's child Jimmy Jimmy. Most of you will do that. It's a very Ghanaian attitude. So let's not pretend. It's a community burden, it's a community attitude we need to change. If you see someone going through it, and the other one, oh, you don't discipline your child. Hey, I've heard it several times. When a child cannot sit and you're a parent and you're moving through the mall or something, people assume it's lack of discipline. Don't say things you do not know and understand. Parents cannot walk around with their diagnosis on their chest so that you can be more human. Just be a decent human being from the beginning. So what we say, how we create the environment for their mental well-being. And again, if the parent themselves are not in a frame of mind that allows them to give the best they can to their children, what help can they give? The parents are not sleeping. They don't have money for rent. They don't have food. They don't know what their future holds. How do they then create the right environment around the child for the child to thrive? So your auntie has a child who is hyper, or your sister or a friend in the neighborhood, and instead of supporting or being there and encouraging, you are downing on them. You don't want them at family gatherings. You don't want to buy from them. How do they better their life to support the children? And again, there's no one size fits all. Autism is a spectrum. They look different. See, one can be an Elon Musk, and one can be somebody who can't even get out of the room. So if you've seen an autistic child, you've seen one autistic child. Do not cast your, don't brand them one way. Oh, those children, they are like this. No, there's variety. Just as we have variety of colors, of shades of skin, of how we speak, they are different. So meet the child at the point that they are and give them the best support. Not just the child, the parents, the community, build a community around them so that well-being and mental well-being can come in. And as you focus on the child, focus on the caregivers as well. They need it as well. So from awareness to action, let's educate ourselves. Let's be human. Let's be accommodating. Let's watch what we say. Let's create an environment that parents can do the best they can. Government side, I don't even want to start, because that's a whole different conversation. At our levels, what we can do from here is what I'm trying to focus on. Because with the legislation, we try, we engage, stakeholders meet. It's ongoing. But you as an individual, you have a part to play. And again, I'm saying for the last time, it is not a day problem. And autism affects rich parents. It affects, people from more humble backgrounds. And as heavy as our mother stories are, it doesn't mean that when somebody has money, it's easy for them either. Because they are going through the same thing this one. Just that maybe there's a little bit of money to cushion, but it doesn't take away the burden and the load and the disappointment and the heaviness. So empathy should not be driven to just one side. Everybody deserves empathy. And at where they are, what you can support. If you can support one with money, do so. If you can support one with respect and time, do so. What they need at that point. Thank you very much.
Thank you too. Thank you too. Thank you very much. I think one thing I took from you is that we need to learn how to be decent human beings and, not criticize unnecessarily. Thank you very much to you ladies. But I'll open the floor now for about 4 questions. You have a question? Okay. Please. You want to add something? Okay, we'll bring you the microphone shortly. But okay, I see your hand there. So if you can kindly walk to the microphone and then ask your question, please. And whilst we are waiting for the questions to be taken, I need to remind you that we're still taking support for our families who have autistic children or autistic grandchildren. You can do that by simply dialing *145*, 3089 hash. Star 145 star 3089 hash. Briefly, please.
Good afternoon. Some of us react to members, family members with autism maybe differently. A family member of mine, a sister of mine, had a child with what we initially thought was developmental problems, okay? So I immediately went on overdrive and went to, what's that hospital, that school called again? Akufo-Addo roundabout. Anyway, there was just next to the British High Commission's residence, there was a school where they said children with intellectual disability and can go there. So I went there. I became, within a very short space of time, a director of that school. And yeah, we brought that child there, and they said, no, that child doesn't fit into this place, okay? So I lost interest, okay? Then we took the child to another school, somewhere in East Legon, okay? It was terrible. Children had all kinds of funny things and all that. Even the child got more depressed. So so we had to take him to Europe, okay? And all the things you said, okay, that they asked into a boarding school, that we prepared, they assessed him, okay? They now gave him more time to sit the exams, and they supported him. Even when he was doing his O-levels, they supported him. When he was doing his A-levels, they supported him. He was accepted into a university, okay, when there was no hope for him. Everybody said there was no hope for him. In fact, if not for Mrs. Awono at a Roman Rich school who just adopted him, okay, he wouldn't have even been accepted into any school in Ghana here. He did his O-level with all the things that you said. I'm happy they have these things in Ghana now. And then he did his A-levels. He went to university. After the first year, they wrote to my sister and said that he was the most improved student. Okay, so miracles do happen. Okay, so he was the most improved student. In the second, third year, he traveled out. He became part of a group of students who go and talk about international affairs and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And the child is a brilliant child. He works with me, okay. And under normal circumstances, as a strong Christian, I would have said, praise the Lord, okay, because that is what I believe in, okay. I believe it was a miracle from God, okay. So I believe for all of us sitting here, I don't know who is Muslim, I don't know who is Christian, but miracles do happen.
Okay.
Also pray.
Okay.
Islamic prayer, Muslim prayer, pray. Thank you.
Okay, why don't you go to the hospital as well?
That goes without saying. That's why I said we went through the whole New Horizon. That was the place. We started at New Horizon hospital. School. I myself went there. I became a director and a supporter of that school just for the child's sake. So school, hospital, and all that is important. But also, in all that, prayer is very, very important.
All right, thank you very much. Let's take our very first question from our gentleman.
Good afternoon. So mine is not actually a question.
Please turn the microphone on and speak.
I think it's on. Good afternoon. Mine is actually not a question, just a little contribution to the conversation.
You want to give a contribution?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm Dr. Muhammad Gazaf Jibril. I'm a recently graduated medical doctor trained outside.
We are struggling to hear you, so I think that we need to take a pause and then fix the microphone. Otherwise, you can use the one here so that, okay.
So I said I am Dr. Muhammad Gazaf Jibril.
You're a doctor?
Medical doctor. Yes. I was trained outside in Cuba from 2019 to 2025. We came recently. So the thing is, I think it has to do with acceptance, like it's already been said, and knowledge and intentionality. Because it is a whole thing altogether. It's not about the person suffering the condition. It has to do with the community as a whole. If you go to Cuba, they operate a community-based medical delivery system.
Please get closer to the mic so that we can hear you.
And so I think that we need to educate people a lot more. If you look at the data, it's really, really bad because there's about 98% gap in terms of mental health delivery system. There's about 13% of people who are suffering from very special conditions, and less than 3% receive formal care. And so there's a lot of things we have to do. There's a big gap, and I'm very happy. I saw Miss Jaharas speak on Connected Minds, and I searched her on Instagram. I realized she was running this, and I decided to come because it's something that I really want to go into, something like psychology and more into mental health, because I believe that there should be intentional incentives and programs to encourage even more doctors. Everyone wants to be a cardiothoracic surgeon, but what about those who are suffering from mental health illnesses? Are we going to leave that and go to places where we only care about the money? Because health is, they say when life gives you lemon, you make lemonades. But how do you make the lemonades? You need knowledge to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you to our doctor. Okay, so I'll take the first question from you. We've had 2 contributions so far. I'll take a question from her, then I come to you, right?
Okay, so please, I want to ask, you see, those in school, those in GES and any other schools, they can request for the IEPs through the school line and any other structures, they can go through that. But what of those on the spectrum that they can't be in school? Some of them, their parents have even stopped working just to stay with them at home. How do they assess this improvement strategy so that with time they can improve?
All right, thank you very much. Let's take the second question and then we get an answer.
Okay, good afternoon. So the question might be a little bit all over the place, but throughout all the presentations, you mainly emphasized on children. Now my question is on adults and then late diagnosis. Those who have had to copy their peers because they didn't want to stand out or they didn't want to be stigmatized. Like some children are there, they realize that they are not like others, but then they try to mask it. I was looking for that word. They try to mask it. And then they grow up, their symptoms and everything becomes worse. And they have to go for diagnosis or testing or something. So how would you help those kind of adults who are late in diagnosing?
Okay, thank you. I think we'll just get answers to these 2 questions. I want to give you one of that, Ida. She talks about the fact that those who are on the spectrum that cannot go to school at all, how do we get them formally educated?
I always say that education actually starts from home. My mom homeschooled me. I think I started off, when I went to school, I got promoted. Let me put it in that sense. So the early years till date, it's quite recently that I have gotten accustomed to knowing which one or what are the divisions when it comes to our early years. Education always starts from the home. Our kids who are on the spectrum and they are currently home, there are a lot of things that we can all do to support them. Remember, our other speakers mentioned that they can be supported. It's a community thing. How well do you help the child learn things around them? Even in terms of colors, even for those who go to school. One thing that I always tell our educators whenever we have training programs for them is that don't let schooling be rigid, because kids would not learn in that way. Everyone likes to have fun, and a child can play from morning till night and would not be tired. Am I right? So why don't we change the way we tutor them? Why don't we teach colors by making them do the runabouts and things that they do? And for someone who is either on the spectrum or not, the child can still do that activity, whether in school or at home. What if we are teaching them sounds? What if we are teaching them the alphabet letters? We're teaching them something related to any schoolwork, anything, identification, being able to blend, being able to decode, whichever thing we're teaching them. Make sure it is something that is practical, something that they feel they can work around, they can play around. And yes, for a child who is on the spectrum, please bear in mind that whatever you are doing, they may not respond to you at that particular moment. If a child is not schooling, they may do their things in another way. And you also remember what Susanna said. You may have seen someone who is on the spectrum. It doesn't necessarily mean that whatever thing this person is applying would apply to that person. But we try different things. Use the things that are around the child to teach that individual. Help the child understand things using the things they see. If someone comes to you, let's say you've never been outside Ghana before, you've never seen snow, and someone is explaining snow and telling you snow does this, would you understand it? But if the person comes and tells you that, oh, do you know how the rain fell? Would you understand that? Exactly. So let's use things that we tend to see around us, be it the child is on the spectrum or not, be it the child is neurodivergent or not. In whichever area you find yourself, please, make sure we always use the things that are around us.
That's fine. In 30 seconds.
Yes. Two quick things I want to say about educating the children. First, just to add on to what she said, I think almost, as parents, you must almost become like an educator. You must learn what you need to learn in order to help the child. You cannot delegate, when you have a special needs child, you cannot delegate the entire development of the child to either a doctor or to a teacher or to someone else. You must almost learn everything. You must almost become like you are a doctor, you are a teacher, you are whatever it may be. I stayed home for 2 or 3 years because of my son. And so even though he was in a formal school, I was also teaching him. I tried to get other tutors to also help. So I was learning in order to help him. That's number one. So as parents, we are the first teachers. And that's not said casually. It means you must learn. The second point I also wanted to make when it comes to education is broaden your mind beyond formal education. We fixate a lot on formal education in Ghana. Everything's about paper and certificates. My son can knit a pillow. He can draw. He plays football. He does so many things. And I've decided to nurture all of those things because the academics is one, but they may not be the only path for his future. So as parents and as Ghanaian parents, where we keep seeking the doctors, the accountants, the whatever it may be, we need to try and be very flexible when it comes to our kids and what their future may look like. And my son is, I would say, probably one of the most talented kids ever.
Okay.
And you have to nurture that talent.
Okay. Stella, I think I'll just let you take the second question. The lady talks about refusing acceptance. So you know you have a condition. You know you're a bit different from your peers. But because you do not want to deal with it, you pretentiously put on a mask so you can belong. How do such people get themselves out of the wood?
I'm going to answer that question. I want to touch on the first question. I believe this is a bigger platform, and we have to hold the government accountable a little bit right now, okay? Not every parent have the wisdom to know how to teach their child. They're already having a hard time even identify what is autism. I think the government needs to put teachers at home if a child cannot be in school. If you're collecting taxes, then you must provide, right? And somebody might say that's your foreign mind thinking. Well, that's my foreign mind speaking it out loud. The government needs to give parents who cannot work money. My foreign mind thinking again, right? But we're putting it out there because there are other countries that are doing it. And Ghana is big on copying other countries. So let's copy the right way, okay? Let's get our children educated. If they cannot be educated in a classroom, let them be educated in the school. You want to empower a parent? Bring a teacher to teach the parent how to educate their child because they don't have the knowledge. So to put all of that in a parent, I think is very sad. So the government needs to step in and help parents and help their citizens. Hopefully they heard us. And then the second thing, I want to address that young lady's question.
You see, there are levels of autism, right? The higher functioning child is a child that's able to mask. And the higher functional child is the one that's able to realize that there's something going on with me, right? They are older now, so they're self-aware now of what's going on. So if you're older and you never got diagnosed, you need to get diagnosed. In Ghana, that paper may not mean a lot, but in America it means a lot. Get that paperwork that says that you are on some type of spectrum. So that's the first thing you do. Secondly, you acknowledge it, then you seek for resources, and you seek for help. And you have to talk to yourself. If you're going somewhere that's going to overwhelm you, you need to prepare yourself. If this crowd is going to overwhelm you, do not go. If you could stay for 5 minutes, you stay for 5 minutes, and that's it. When you have that paperwork and you are employed, you see, the good thing now is that technology makes us understand autism. They might not know what it is, your boss, but she or he has heard it before. Have that paperwork. Be honest with them. Be transparent. This job, I'm going to do the best that I can. And I think you asked a question, and it kind of skipped through my mind. ADHD and autism kids, the one that are higher functional, are one of the best employees that you can hire. Because if that autistic kid is working, they're working 100%. They're giving you the utmost results. They don't, when a person is not talking, they're thinking. All other senses is working. So when you become an older person, you are the best employee in your office because you are fixated on that problem and you do not stop until it's fixed. So you got to own up to who your strengths are, and you have to let your boss know. And then you have to let them know that I may need a mental break. Just like my sister talked about giving sensory breaks to our children in the classroom. So I hope I answered the question.
Thank you very much, Stella. We'll take the last 2 questions and then we move on to the next panel. Okay, the lady there. Okay. You know what? Let me do favoritism here. Becca wants to ask a question.
Actually, I thank you all so much for having me here. Jahara, I think you're doing an amazing job, and I'm so glad I came today because I wasn't coming because I had so much to do today, but I thought this is a topic that means a lot to me because I had a brother with ADHD, and growing up, I had no idea what it was because all I knew was that boy was hyper. He was knocking everything down, jumping, rolling over the staircase, and doing so much until I grew up and I realized that
he was busy.
He was very busy.
He was very busy.
He was always busy. He was always busy. He couldn't sit still. And I just thought, what is this? Until I grew up and I realized that this is a mental disorder. Honestly, I didn't even think it was. Sitting here today, I have learned so much. I'm telling you, the panelists here and before, especially now, because I'm learning so much. But it's just one thing I wanted to ask, because I just thought, some of the parents that came up here spoke about so many things. One of the things that touched me was the fact that, how are you going to feed your child with no job? And really, if you think about it, this is also under health. And so when you said that we stereotype them because we don't want to buy food from them, I just thought, truly speaking, to be frank, if I go to a space where there's feces on the floor, I'm not going to buy the food. Is there a parent support system that allows some of our specialists to educate these mothers, to help them to know how to, for example, keep their environments tidy with a child like that? Is there a way? Because let's be frank, if we're going to be realistic here, I'm just being realistic. I'm not going into the emotional part of it because I've been emotional. I cry throughout their talks. But we need to help the parents. Is there a support system? Is there a way that we gather parents in a room where we educate them on how to keep their children tidy when they obviously have these conditions, how to change them? If you are or have your food vendor, when you're cooking, what do you do with them? I understand that it's all about money. And I know that, honestly, if these parents do not have a job to do, the government, what you're saying here is what it should be ideally. But realistically, that's not what it is. It is going to take us a while to get there. And I do hope we get there where parents are given a certain amount of support, like in the UK and all parts of the world. But it's going to take us a while. In the meantime, how do we support these parents? Do we have a vocational tuition where we teach them how to cook food, how to make beads, how to sew clothes. How are they going to support their children? We need to think about that. And also, I'm talking about the support system because you know what? We're talking about all these children with ADHD and autism, and we're talking about mental health. Parents who take care of these children, if you're not careful, is borderline depression. And that is why I believe that these parents themselves need to have a support system that speaks to them on a regular basis. A platform where they're spoken to constantly, encourage them, educate them, support them. Because if not, how are they going to support their young ones when they themselves are going through? Because trust me, parents will suffer a lot. And that is something that we shelve all the time. So is there a system that supports or promotes parents, helps them in these various areas that I've mentioned?
Okay, thank you very much for your question. Before we answer that, let's take the final one from her.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for this opportunity. I don't know, our spirit is one. Auntie Becca, when we're thinking about the support system. We have a son diagnosed with spinal bifida, that is myelomeniingocele, and surgery was done 2014. And he's in a wheelchair, well dressed, he can talk, but down from chest to the legs, he can't feel anything. We tried our best to take him to school. We have to get him daily support, a caregiver to take him to school, change the diaper for us to be able to go to work. So as I was sitting down, my husband, it has not been easy. He goes to work and think about his son. How can he survive when we are not there? So as I was sitting, I was thinking about the support system in Africa and in Ghana. What can we do as parents that our children will have a full of life? So as a nurse and a mom, I gather parents in Central Region, even have children with home, and even empower mothers in my little way. So as I sit down, I was thinking about the support system. How can we support ourselves so that mental, because it's not easy to go and come home, meet these children, sleep with them, wake up. When you get up and maybe you die, what happens to our children? So support system matters. And even them going to school, we have special educators, but when the children are in school, they are left alone. Break time, club time, these children are left alone. And a whole lot of things goes on. So what Auntie Becca said is very important. And we in Central Region, we have about 50 to 100 mothers and fathers, single parents, who are ready to learn something, learn a trade, and also do something. So that even with soap making or other things that they can sell and maybe work, like money, training will be going on for such parents. Because if you're even taking care of a store and you don't go to work, 1 week, 1 month, how can you care for a child? So with the support system, we need it. And especially parents in Central Region. My boy is spinal bifida. He's well dressed, he can sing. But what goes on a day caring for him? It takes only God and faith in God. So I'm grateful for this forum. Please, we need a support system. And some of us, we are ready to be assistant and we are ready to work with my parents and single mothers in Central Region. Thank you very much.
In fact, I was actually coming to you because you are also a parent with that experience.
I'll make it quick.
Both of them are basically asking for support for parents.
And as a parent, I also need support. So I kind of have an idea of what I think would help. The first thing is we have financial cooperatives, right? We could also have caregiver cooperatives. We could have caregiver community groups. And this, I think, should be handled by the government or the hospitals because the parents go to those institutions, they have the data, they have the records. You can organize groups where they meet, whether it's once a month, whatever it may be, and have a conversation with them on multiple levels: financial management, business management, entrepreneurship, and also mental health talks. How are they faring? How are they doing? So not just focusing on the kids, but asking the parents, how are you doing? What help do you need? So a cooperative or a community, and I would even akin it to something like maybe, in the US, they would have, Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. But those types of groups where, as a parent, I can sign up and go to a place on a particular basis. It is anonymous, it is confidential, it is managed in a very good way, and I can share openly. I can literally just sit there and say, you know what, my son is driving me crazy. And I'm not judged in that space. And that's a space where I can learn how to have a side business or how to handle my job, how to do this and that. So we need that. The second help that I think parents really need is our health system and our insurance system does not support mental health. Since my son got diagnosed and we've been buying medication, insurance companies do not cover mental health or mental illness medications. I do not know why. This is something I feel like the government needs to intervene. I mean, last time I tried to buy medicine, I was with my mother, and it was about 2,000 cedis a month, and I'm like, okay, that's not going to work. What can we do? Because insurance will not cover. I used to be on insurance, and I stopped because I have mental illness, my son has his issues, and our insurance is not covering any of that. Not consultation, not assessment, not medication. So insurance companies and hospitals or government needs to do something about that so that the financial help can be received. So those are the two quick things I'll say is that community-based support is needed for us to talk and sometimes vent. And you want to do it in a safe space, and you also want to learn from others. That should be done, and then financial help, especially through insurance.
Okay, Susanna, briefly.
Let me start answering that question by saying that let's not forget that there are wonderful people in the space doing wonderful things already. Like what Madam Celsia is doing, like what Rob Foundation is doing. Like there are other, I don't know your organization, but what you're doing. And majority of the time, don't call me biased, but it's the stats. The women are the ones championing these initiatives, and they are getting results done because they understand what it takes. You know, when women take charge of something, not all women, but majority of the times, they get a job done. So what we have to do is, as an individual, as a corporate institution, identify these groups, structure what they are doing. If they are a foundation, look into their books, give them training. Then you can give them funding. Then you can go and check what they're doing with the funding. Teach them how to trickle it down. Educate them. Then you have systems outside of government. Government system is one. It is great. But community and people who take ownership of such movement will get us more results. Come to our foundation, come to their foundation, look at our books, tell us, this is what we want to achieve within 2 years. Are you registered? How can we help? If you're not registered, how can we get you registered? Are you compliant? I'm giving you 10,000 cedis. In the next 6 months, this is what I need to do with this program. Follow up, see it, and then we get the results. That is how I think from the grassroots level, we can start seeing change. Because they are doing it already. We are doing it. We just need support. Come on board with us, and let's get it done.
Okay, you know what? Because that's what we have spoken, I want Ida to speak, then I give it to you last, right? Ida, no, this is your microphone.
Okay, so then there was the other part of the question that has to do with the mental health. How do you support the parents? Earlier, Wachua mentioned things that we tend to do. And yes, we are here in Accra. There are several other things that we can do to support others. In terms of mental health, for instance, I know that, well, for my place, we have this monthly webinars that we hold for free. And it is for everyone. So there are the parents who sometimes we even host. They tend to share their experiences. We have the professionals also in there. So at least for 2 hours, you can ask all your questions, you can share, you can get that free consult with people. These are some of the things that we all do. But the thing is, there are pockets of it being done in different places. So you need to find out who has what information and how good is the information. Because there are several things going out there, but we need to identify. A whole lot of information can also sometimes be overwhelming for you as an individual. So please, take your time. Find which institution can better suit your needs. Where can I get the support that I need? And there are other videos and things that are on YouTube that you can also look at. Take a look at them. Listen to them. Pick your points from it, because these things are what would help you as an individual to also calm yourself. Because you may be thinking about your child, but if you are also not sound, how do you assist the child? So we plead with parents, please, let's seek for the right information. Let's make sure that we get the needed help that we can get and help ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I want Stella to have the final bite on the back of this because you were almost putting fire on the government.
I think what everybody said was very powerful. But I want to say one thing. Rome was not built in a day. And even Sky Rain being in Ghana, I heard for so many years, autism was not even talked about. ADHD was not even talked about, right? It is now that we are having the conversation. It is now that awareness is coming. So all the things that are worrying us as teachers, as parents, as a community, as a nation, we should not skip the government. We should get them involved, right? Because coming to Ghana, I realized that is a law that that schools, I'm starting to be corrected, schools cannot turn away a child. It's in the law. But children on the spectrum are being turned away all the time. And so it sounds good that each individual and a group is working together for the good, but we have to involve the government, whether we feel like they're not doing their part, whether we feel like they're not coming through or not. The more we speak, the more something will be done, just like we are doing now. And then the problem is bigger than all of us. And so we need to involve the government. If they do nothing, they set laws in place, and you know that law, you could stand against a principle that says you cannot turn away my child because she or he is on a spectrum. It's because a law was passed. Had that law not been passed, even though the law is passed, a lot of children are being turned away. So I completely understand the mother that's talking about how she's not able to pay all the bills, right? It's hard. The government needs to be involved. And it's a harder pill for all of us to swallow because it will be exposed to. But let's start that conversation. Let us, our leaders, be aware of it. And then gradually, we will get there.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much, ladies. These have been the ladies for this panel. I've been talking to Stella Mwako. She's a developmental intervention specialist and the chief executive officer of the Sky Rain Therapy. Also, Ida Alote Brown. She's a special educator, ADHD and autism. And Boachua Glover. She's a mental health advocate. And finally, Susanna Simpson. She's a marketing lead on HR, that's employee relations at Nature's Sprout Academy. Let's appreciate them as they take their seats. Thank you very much. And I also need to remind you that we are still very big on getting the needed support for some of our identified mental health victims. And so you can simply help by donating via the short code *41*3089#. Now, before I bring the next guest of speakers on stage, I want us to do a very simple exercise. So can we please take our phones? In fact, show me your phones. Can we wave our phones? Great. You can go on Instagram and TikTok now and follow the Mental Health Forum GH. We are very active on social media. So please follow us on social media. That's TikTok and Instagram at the Mental Health Forum GH. And also don't forget that at the back there, if you want to make a donation in cash, you can simply do that at the back there. And there will also be an available Momo number for those of you that are not able to use the short code to make that donation. Thank you very much. It is now time to bring in our very final panel for the conversation. We've been talking about how to practicalize all the lessons that we've gotten from this forum so far. So I'll invite the next set of guests so that we can quickly delve into the very final laps of this program. And so we'll be discussing building inclusive mental health systems, the roles of institutions, healthcare, and community support in Ghana. And to help me do that, we'll have to invite on stage Ophelia Awin Boma Azure. She's a clinical psychologist. Please join me on stage now. And Grant Abeku Baden. He's the head of programs, Autism Awareness Care and Training Center. Is Grant here? Can you please join us on stage now? Okay. Grant has stepped out. I believe that he joined us subsequently. But Ophelia, it's good to see you. I believe that you've been paying attention to the conversations we've had so far. What's your take on how we treat mental health in this country from a clinical psychologist perspective?
Okay, thank you very much for your question. And I'd like to first of all state that we haven't discussed really the causes of autism, right? So the causes of autism, number one and most important, is genetics. So if you find that a parent, a sibling, or a close relative has autism, there's a pattern that someone else or your child could have autism. Number two is toxics, like being exposed to lead, poisons when you are pregnant, pregnancy complications, delayed labor, certain foods you eat when you are pregnant, alcohol.
You know, because she said it's toxic, then I'm drawn to those that are exposed to mercury at the Galamsey site.
Exactly.
They also are the risk of experiencing this, also especially for their children.
Yes, or even the electric mask, MTN, telecommunications mask, you know, all those ones, radioactive stuff, right? And then smoking and drinking or doing drugs when you are pregnant can also lead to the child becoming autistic. Lastly, there are also, you know, some environmental or physical, like going through excessive stress when you are pregnant. And when I say stress, I mean emotional stress or distresses when you are pregnant can lead one to giving birth with a child having those complications. So back to your question, right? Systems. Did you mention systems?
Systems, yes.
That promotes the awareness?
No, I was asking about how difficult it is to, you know, talk about these mental health conditions, really.
Okay. It's difficult because it's a bit foreign, right? I say foreign because Ghanaian culture has transformed. I would say early 20 years ago, children diagnosed with autism or living with autism were seen foreign. And that is what has been passed down even to my age mates. Now, the education is such that if you don't have a child living with autism, you may never get to know about it. And I'm here to say that it shouldn't have to be you before you start learning about what neurodevelopmental challenges are. If you're a woman, if you're a man with an intention to marry and give birth, these are some of the investment you have to do for yourself. I would also like to mention that in our Ghanaian system, we scare, number one, because of finances. If you have a child that comes with a burden like this, you know you have to spend extra, and our living conditions do not allow us to live and to spend or to even spare for something like this. And then the fact that it's a mental health challenge. Again, the stigma about mental health is still thriving. Like, a lot of people don't want to be associated, anything that has to do with mental health. And again, I would like to say mental health is about how you think, how you feel, and how you behave. If you have a brain, then you have mental health. But when it is in a spectrum, whether it's on the extreme end and you are not balanced, that is where it's a mental health disorder. So I have it, you have it, all of us sitting here, we have it because we have brains that functions daily.
And so automatically we have mental health.
Yes, we
it
have
only becomes a problem when it's on the spectrum.
When it's on the spectrum or it's on the extreme end. So what we try for is to live a balanced life daily, to be balanced. So when you're going through stress, you make sure that at the end of the day you de-stress so it doesn't compile. When it compiles, then you get a mental health illnesses, right? So when you're going through depression, it's more like low moods.
And then when you don't visit a psychologist to help with your low moods, then it compiles. And like a balloon, when you overinflate a balloon, it bursts. So that's how the symptoms now becomes very visible, where you can't hide it, where you can't mask it, and everyone gets to see that you're going through some mental health challenge.
Okay, but is attending to the or visiting the clinical psychologist the only way to distress? Because most of us here, we are working so hard. You're dealing with corporate issues, family issues, personal issues. Majority of us are stressed. Do you have to come to the clinicals, or do I have to come to you to help me with my low mood? Or there are other realistic and practical alternatives that we can use?
Okay, so I said this because we want to fight ignorance, right? The Bible says, lack of knowledge make my people perish. So when I come from a stance of ignorance, you may not have, you may not know how to deal with it if you are not being taught how to. I know there's social media trends that can show you how to de-stress, but it's not from a clinician point of view. And so there are a lot, CBT, mindfulness, yoga, meditation, and all of those things, and everyday coping activities you can do to de-stress. But the thing is, it's all about the assessment. How do you know you are facing a mental health disorder if you're not assessed, if you're not diagnosed? I know there are a lot of jargons. People who don't even have ADHD will go like, oh, I think I have AD, or maybe I think I'm on the spectrum, to be associated with it for some benefits or for some behavioral flaws, right? An example of an adult ADHD is if you're always showing up late. Like you can say, oh, I think I have my ADHD, it's just showing up, that's why I came up late. So things like that makes it very difficult.
The word they use is tardy. When somebody is tardy, the person can say that I have an ADHD.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
interesting.
Yes. And there are so many like behavioral flares that people may use. An example is like, okay, an antisocial behavior. Or a very familiar word is introverts, right? But the extreme end is antisocial behavior. They don't like people. They just see you and they don't like you, right? And they try to go like, oh, I'm just antisocial. I don't like people, right? So mental health has become more like a jargon, and that is what we are trying to fight against. That people, millennials or Gen Zs should not trivialize mental health. It's a serious thing, and the more we trivialize it, the more it's difficult for the people really going through it to seek help, right? And so for mothers who are going through this, first of all, like we spoke about, family support and family therapy and psychoeducation, we need to teach them how do they deal with children going through this. What are the burnout strategies they can use so that they themselves do not become overburdened with what they are going through. And I would like to say that for women going through this, it's about the energy they give inside of them. Now, I met a Russian mother who had a child with autism. The moment she moved to Ghana, the transition period and settling in was very difficult for her. And she had brought her son for assessment. The assessment was done, and indeed, the child was on the spectrum. Now, the difficult thing that happened for this mother was the fact that within herself, there was the difficulty of accepting. And I'd like to say that the longer it takes for you to accept your child diagnosis, the harder it is for your child to get the support that is needed.
Okay.
So your child suffers more. They go through all the behavioral and emotional distresses, and they find it very difficult to understand and accept themselves. So what the mother had to do was, first of all, to pour love in herself. She said, I stopped looking at my son from a pitiful eye. Like you don't have to look at your son and it is oraho. There's difference between pity, empathy, apathy, and then love, right? So you look at your child with love. And love comes with caring. It comes with a responsibility. And even when you are not capable, it helps you. But when you look at someone with pity, like we all do when we see them in public, we don't look at them with curiosity. We look at them in disgust. And children feel our energy. They receive the energy. And so when she started pouring love in herself, she was able to pour love into her son. And her son received the energy and was able to connect with her. There's a difference when a mother is able to connect with their child because there is a parental intuition from above that teaches you how to navigate these challenges out of love. But when it is out of pity, it comes with tiredness, with a burden. It comes with self-blame. It comes with excuses, right? And sometimes you feel that you shouldn't even be the one to be responsible for such a child. But when she looked through love and she received her son, and her son received that love, they began to connect. And parenting was easy. Because such children are very difficult with rules and regulations. They don't listen. They are always focused on something you don't want them to do. But when the child connected, the child was able to listen. The child was able to connect and feel the pain and energy from her mother. And this transpired in the child's social life because the child was able to see other kids that mimicked a safe behavior, that mimicked a welcoming behavior, and also exchanged the same behavior from the child perspective. Their academics improved, their eating skills. Very petty things around the child that was very difficult for the child to exhibit now became easy. So I would say mothers should first of all see it from a place of love, not as a burden, and this will also transform how the child sees the world. Because you are a representation for the child. You are the picture that the child uses. And if every day you look at your child in pity, in disgust,
you'll be tired. I have a very last question for you, but I'll just allow people to get in here and ask questions so that you can, they can get answers. Please come.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Elikem, and I'm happy you came up here and spoke about the causes, because I didn't hear so much about these causes, because I feel like once we're able to tackle from the foundations and the grassroots, a lot of these problems will be nullified to some extent. I have two questions. I'm back in the university. Okay, the first time I went there, I couldn't sit in class. I was all over the place. I start one project, I leave the rest. And a good friend of mine said, "You should get checked. I think you have ADHD." And it was funny, because even till today, I still see traces of attention deficit, hyperactivity, and the label or the labeling, or then going for a diagnosis to say, yes, you have ADHD, is not scary, but for me, I would rather like to live with the fact that I need to calm myself down, I need to be patient when I'm talking, I need to set a to-do list, I need to tackle one task before the other, and so on and so forth. Now my question is, again, I have a friend in class who says he takes these pills that calm him down. He has ADHD, he went for a diagnosis. Being a clinical psychologist, can you say that as opposed to getting a diagnosis and taking a drug, if you think you have some of these symptoms, adult ADHD, can you then control them? Can you then use certain tactics to try to tame down or control your supposed self-diagnosed ADHD? Or do you definitely have to take these tablets or medicines or these sort of interventions? That's number one question. And number two is, where are the men? Where are the men in this discussion of mental health? and being mental healthy? Where are the men? Like I applaud the gentleman who has a son, who is taking care of his son, but where are the men? It's as if the women are more concerned about mental health. And then even if you look in the auditorium, there's more women than men. And so being a clinical psychologist, is it still the same? Do men shy away from these type of topics, and why so? Yeah, my two questions.
Okay, thank you. So I'll take it from your second question, right? Recently, there's been one powerful economic conference at Beijing, and in all over the world, only men represented, not even one woman. So you see, men have different interests. It's all about the money, politics, power, control, but very important things that boils down to human life, men seem to shy away. Even with parenting, how many men take it as a responsibility to learn about their child, to self-care and spend time with their children? Now, there's differences between self-care, childcare, and spending time with your child. A professionally employed father would rather seek for money than to spend time with the child. And even if they do spend time with the child, they are not teaching the child basic connection activities that they can bond with the child. They are either working and say, hey, look at the child, he's out there playing. How many fathers teach their children how to ride bicycles? How many fathers teach their children how to fry eggs? But these are the bonding activities fathers need to be more intentional about, because their children don't know them. They don't. They go to work, come back late. The child may only see them during the weekends. So I'm glad as a man you have brought this up. It shows your mind. And I like when people talk, because talking exposes who you are. You can't lie. Talking is your sense of being, is who you are. And I like that you have this beautiful mind and that you can educate and groom other men to be more focused on homely duties and important topics like this. And your second question with drugs, right, or medications and then therapy, it may go together. We may not include medication in your therapy interventions, but I would like to say that recently there's been a high rise of drug addicts in Ghana, where there are so many advocacies, and even the the police investigative units and the crime, or is it what's the name, substance abuse unit in the police department is, yes, narcotics. Thank you very much. Are really on this kind of cases. So mental health medications are highly supervised, right? Even for me, I can't even prescribe a medication without a report and assessment and diagnosis. It would be against my ethics and then code of conduct. I can't do that. So to say that because your friend takes medication, if it's okay, that is if it is from a clinical psychologist or a psychiatrist, that is because it is supervised. Because there are so many medications out there that helps people, like stimulants, all right? Mushrooms, stimulants. You know, there are some medications from mushrooms that people abuse, right? You can take it if you illegally come across it, but it has to be prescribed. Penicillin, tramadol, all these medications were supposed to be supervised, but it is out there in the market. How did it happen? And one thing about ADHD medication is that it helps you to calm down. It helps you to be focused. I'm saying if you have a project and you take these medications, you see clearly. You are like a fortune teller. You can do the best of it. But do you really need it, or you are just abusing it? It's more like a superpower. So we are looking at it from a place that you need to go for the diagnosis. You need to go to be tested. The question I have to this is, do you shy away from diagnosis? Because that is a typical Ghanaian attitude. A lot of people don't like the diagnosis. They just want the end result of it. like let's say go to the hospital, go check for HIV. They will never go, but they'll be ready to receive prophylaxis. Why is the case? It's the stigma. It's just the stigma behind it. And there's nothing wrong with going for assessment and test. So it is wrong to take medications without prescription. Please, have I answered your questions?
Okay.
Thank
We have
you.
more questions. All right.
So you enlisted some risk factors that can put a child to getting autism.
Yes.
Right now, we are in a world of technology where most of our parents do not have time for their babies. What they do is probably they are working, they have a meeting on Zoom, and they just give a phone to the baby to watch Coco Melon and other shows. I want to ask that, is there any evidence where exposing these kids to these media shows put a child at risk of autism?
You mean exposure to screen time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so thank you very much for bringing this up. We call it compulsive screen use, right? And I'm very happy you've brought this up because there's been an increased risk that children who spend more time on screen get like the increased behavioral versions of ADHD. For me, I'm very happy I wasn't brought up with TV because of my religious, background. I'm from a typical Deeper Life church. So those of you who knows Deeper Life, I didn't grow up with TV. So I grew up using my time for myself. I know how not to get bored, right? I know how to use my time for something. But for children like this, where social media and screen time has been factored into parenting, right, is very difficult for them to use their time for themselves. They cannot see themselves beyond screen time. They cannot interact socially, like to express themselves without really screen time, programming or conditioning. And you can tell that they are also very smart, right? They are also very eye-opening. But the parenting has been from a programming state, like social media, other forms of, screen time use. So you find that there's an increased energy, aggressiveness, anger. They use bad words, like they interact with strangers online and they copy behaviors. So before you realize, a child 10 years ago or 20 years ago could be clinically diagnosed based on the child's individuality or personality, right? But because of screen time, when you are diagnosing a child with ADHD, you are also asking yourself reflective questions, whether it is from a screen time or this is really a child naturally having ADHD. Do you get where I'm coming from? So the screen time plays a critical role in ADHD children. Sugar levels, right? An increased risk with sugar levels as well. And the fact that a lot of mothers follow like various trends on how to feed their baby to look cool, to be a cool parent. They don't really research what their children do. They buy them all the devices that they need rather than bonding with the child. And I understand, because emotional bonding is a level of energy if you don't have, you can't give it. You just cannot, even if you are a parent. It needs to be nurtured. It needs to be modeled into giving. If you don't have, you can't give it. So the easiest way is to use the screen time. Just throw it to them and then do something else that you want. And there's been research that shows that, what do they call it? Feeding mothers has interrupted their child's feeding because of their own screen time. So these days, it's easier for you to see a mother feeding the child with the phone in the hand to de-stress. When this happens repeatedly, it's a pattern for the child. So the child knows that if I want to feed, then I have the option of also looking through the phone. And a child from 0 to 2 years exposed to screen time is going to have neurodevelopmental challenges in his or her brain, because the brain is yet developing. So from 0 to 2 years should not have anything to do with screen time, not even a minute. because there are synapses forming in the child's brain that causes memory. Okay, so that is why childhood trauma, that whatever the child sees at that point forms memory, forms experiences, forms personality traits that the child shouldn't have learned. So a child growing up with continuous screen time becomes a pattern for the child that now creates addiction. And the same screen time addiction is the same chemical imbalances and processes that causes drug addiction. So any form of addiction is the same chemical processes in the brain, whether pornography, gambling, drugs, anything at all. So a child from 0 to 2 years being exposed is going to develop that addiction. It means that when the child grows from 2 to 5 years, would already be used to the screen time. And you can't model that behavior. We have a local proverb that says that when a broom is wet, you can burn it. Oh, is that not right? When a stick is wet, you can burn it, but when it is dried, it will break. That is a typical example of child modeling. So thank you so much, and I'm here to say that from 0 to 2 years, do not expose. You shouldn't even have TV. Why do you have TV? Sorry, not because I'm a deeper lifer, but why do you have TV? For what? Because these children with ADHD, they can break stuff. They break them. Some people, they hang their TV on the walls till their child becomes like a puberty or a teenager. So why do you have it? Right? You can do away with TVs and screen times and all of that until you are aware that you have traditionally nurtured your child to understand good, right, wrong. Their conscience is formed from the values of your home. And when your child is able to choose from right or wrong, then you are free as a parent. But if your child cannot, because I know every parent wants that when you leave the world, your child can be able to exist without you. So if you're asking yourself, what kind of adult am I modeling this child? If you're a reflective parent and you're honest, you can tell that your child, in your house, you don't need TV. In your house, you don't need these foreign materials that would change the understanding and the personality and values or morality in your home. So you do away with these things. They don't need them.
Okay.
But, sorry, I'm talking too much.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll just open the floor up for one final question.
Okay.
All right. I spotted you.
Hello. Okay, so mine is a form of encouragement. I'll make it short before her. Okay.
I wanted her to speak. You've spoken already.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Hello, and good afternoon to everyone. So my question is, you know, in this our country, there are so many people going through a lot sometimes. It can sometimes basically be on health, let's say financial challenge, and also single mothers going through a lot sometimes. And most of the times they find it difficult. Some people always complain they can't even sleep. I quite remember some time ago, I was sick and then I was admitted at the hospital. The medication that I was given couldn't even help me to sleep. So the next day I have to go to a pharmacy to get something that will help me to sleep. But fortunately they couldn't give me because they also told me to go back to the same hospital to make a complaint. And there are people who normally complain about that, not sleeping, and sometimes they are on drugs, like something that can help them to sleep, you see? So I want to know if someone like that, do you need help from maybe a physician or it's
a clinical psychologist?
Yes, or maybe it's a sign of ADHD.
ADHD.
Yeah. So that's my question. Thank you.
Okay, so, all right.
Hi, everyone. Hi. My name is Dr. Jifadello. I'm a psychiatrist. So basically, a psychiatrist is a medical doctor who has specialized in mental health. So usually we work with clinical psychologists, we work with occupational therapists, we work with social services and all. So I just wanted to butt in just a bit. So First of all, you should be an advocate for yourself. A doctor, a clinical psychologist cannot know your problems until you open up to them. And speak it all. Tell them whatever you are going through. That is the only way we can help you. You are talking about sleep. Sleep is a major sign and a symptom of mental illness. It is also a sign and symptom of physical illness. So nobody can just predict that you have insomnia or hypersomnia or whatever kind of sleep problems you have. There are lots of physicians out there. There are sleep specialists, there are psychiatrists, there are psychologists. Depending on all these cadres of workers, they can either prescribe medication for you or not. So usually in Ghana, prescribers are only medical doctors and some nurse practitioners, okay? So if you think you need medication, come to them. If they assess you and they think you really need it, you'll be given. Now, mental illness has become like a jargon. Everybody is talking about my depression, my anxiety. If you really come to the clinical space and you see people who have real struggles, real diagnosis with signs and symptoms, you will not say what you are saying. So if you think you have ADHD, don't resort to the streets, because these medications that are prescribed and highly controlled for treatment of ADHD and all these other mental health illnesses, they are very addictive. You will become dependent on it. And now you'll be fighting two battles: addiction, and you have your inherent ADHD or whatever you are dealing with. So please and please again, there is help everywhere. In every region, there's a regional hospital, there's a district hospital, there are CHIPS compound. That's every level. There is a mental health professional to help you. So just walk in and have a talk with them. Anyone you meet, any clinician or a nurse, tell them what your problems are, and they can lead you in the right direction. So don't suffer alone. There is help out there. If you don't look for it, help most of the times wouldn't walk up to you. But please, let's know, some people also shy away from medication, thinking about side effects. But let me tell you, even water has a side effect, okay? So depending on how you use something, apples are good, but if you eat it in excess, you have problems. As I said, water, paracetamol has side effects, but it's about the way and manner in which it is given to you. And if you have side effects, please come back. You mentioned that you had sleep issues, the medication that. But did you go back to the health professional to tell them that, oh, I'm having this and that? And then they will explain to you that, oh, this is indeed a side effect, but we can remedy it this way. But we tend to just run off when we have side effects or discomfort as a result of medication, and now vilify medical professionals as being the bad ones. But we are there. You didn't tell us. I mean, you didn't tell me you were having side effects. When you come to my practice, I always try to tell you what the side effects are so that you preempt it. When you see it, you're not scared and you come. But let's be real. The patient to doctor ratio is very big. And for psychiatrists, I don't even want to go there. In the whole of Ghana, we are just about 50. Somebody was mentioning that the mental health treatment gap is 98%. That is the truth in this part of the world. In advanced countries, it is 50%. So even there, they are suffering. When you book to see a psychiatrist in the Americas, in the UK, it takes like 8 months to see them. But here, we are fortunate to just literally walk in and you can get to speak to a psychiatrist or a clinical psychologist. So let's take advantage of it. We are there. So that is all I have to say. Just
okay, thank you. In fact, because she touched on sleep, I want to find out from you quickly. I struggle with sleep. The earliest I can sleep is 3 a.m. So do I need to come to you or her?
You can come to any of us.
Okay.
If she assesses you and she thinks that you have to go higher,
then I come to you.
She'll refer.
Okay.
Or you can come to me when I think that, okay, you don't need medication.
Then I go to her.
You need behavioral therapy, then I'll refer. Or I can start some therapy, depending. I mean, just walk up to somebody. There is help.
All right.
Yeah,
thank you, Dr. Jaffa, right?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Please, let's appreciate her.
And of course, a big thank you to Ophelia Awin-Boma Azuri. She's a clinical psychologist. She's been taking us through this session. This is still the Mental Health Forum 2026. We've been here since morning talking about how to eliminate stigma associated with mental health, and of course also the very basic signs and symptoms that you need to identify in a bid to be a decent human being, you know. But let me just remind you that we've been sponsored by Illy, Pinocchio, KGL Foundation, Lay Pavilion, Gourmet Gardens, and it's been partnered by Premier Mind and Wellness. Premier Mind and Wellness is the leading mental health clinic in Accra and offers therapy and physiatry in person and also online. So either you have depression, anxiety, ADHD, autism, addiction, and trauma treatment, book them now. You can visit the website now at premiermindandwellness.com. Also, we've been partnered by the Premier Aesthetic Clinic, the Ministry of Health, Diaspora Affairs, that's the Office of the President, Bell Laqua, Chocolate Sarai, Ghana Psychology Council, and the multimedia group, including Joy News and Joy FM. In fact, we are coming to the end of the program, so I'll just invite the convener, Jahara Osman, to give us the vote of thanks so that we can bring the program to an end. I'm bringing the microphone to you, don't worry. Okay, there's an order that you need to climb the stage to give the vote of thanks.
All right. It's so exciting that I still see a lot of faces. This tells me that it's personal for everyone here, for those who registered online, for students, parents. I think mental health it's a topic that I wouldn't say it's just emotional, but it's very touching. Once it affects you or you are in the space, you get to really feel and understand the need for us to be here today. So I'm happy that you're still here and to the end. I would also like to say a very big thank you to our sponsors, Illy, for giving us the coffee today. Last year, they were with us. This year, they still stayed with us. We want to say a very big thank you to Illy. Pinocchio has always been a friend of ours, and the relationship I hope to grow. Belakwa, this year with our trips to the schools, our interview, Belakwa actually has a core mandate where mental health is one of their focus, and they stand to represent mental health, especially with those of you in school. If you're having any project or something, always consider Belakwa their major or one of their key advocates is towards mental health, and especially in schools. We also want to say a big thank you to the Ministry of Health, Ghana Library Authority, also to Diaspora Affairs. So government agencies, they are the policymakers. We're happy that they always collaborate with us so that at least our conversations today will not stay in this room, but it will go further to actually make changes. Ministry of Education, we're happy to work with the ministry. Our next project is to work with parents, if you're here today, with teachers, if you're here today, to do workshops in libraries across Ghana to educate parents with children with autism. So if you're someone who has a foundation, if you're someone who works with schools, if you're a special education teacher, this is the time to engage us and through these workshops. It's not just going to be in Accra, it's going to be across Ghana, so you don't need to travel wherever you are. Yes, so I think I've said enough. Once again, thank you for being here today.
So, all right, thank you very much once again. So, Jahara, in fact, I need you backstage. We're going to have a photo shoot session now with all the speakers that spoke. So, from Ida to Boachoa, Susanna, everybody that spoke, we need you on stage for a quick photo session. And of course, we've been telling you that this program has been brought to you by the Mental or the Premier Mind and Wellness Clinic. It is the leading clinic here in Ghana that can attend to all your mental health needs from depression, ADHD, anxiety. So log on to the website at premiermindandwellness.com for every attention you need. And also, whilst the photo shoot is going on, I'm going to get a short code again so we can run you through how you can donate for us to give the necessary assistance to identified victims of mental health related illnesses, including autism, ADHD, and others. So we're going to take the photos now. And of course, please, whilst you're exiting, see the donation table. And there's also going to be refreshment downstairs. So please don't forget to take something as you're exiting, because we appreciate the fact that you are here. This is our little way of also showing appreciation. And thank you very much for staying throughout the session. My name is Tutu Wadan, so thank you very much for being here. Please come forward a bit. Beyond the noise. In a world built for speed, structure, and constant connection, millions of people are quietly fighting battles that often go unseen. Some struggle to focus, some struggle to fit in, and some spend their entire lives pretending to be normal. This is the reality of neurodiversity. This is the story of autism and ADHD. Autism spectrum disorder, often called autism, affects how a person experiences communication, emotion, and the world around them. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, affects attention, impulse control, memory, and emotional regulation. But these conditions are more than labels. They are different ways of thinking, feeling, and existing. And yet, for many people, understanding comes too late. A child who cannot sit still in class may be called difficult. A teenager who avoids eye contact may be seen as rude.
An adult overwhelmed by noise, lights, or social interaction may simply be told to try harder. But what society often mistakes for laziness, disrespect, or lack of intelligence may actually be someone struggling to survive